The excruciating pain of my period racked my nerves, and I rushed to the bathroom to throw up 3 times. Chiyu watched with a cold gaze, speaking as if bestowing a favor. Do you want me to get you a glass of water? No. My voice was hoarse and I felt completely drained. I had already placed an online order for ibuprofen and heat patches 10 minutes ago. Chiyu didn't ask any further questions, just gave a quiet MHM. Then you should get some proper rest. The lock at Lin Chu's place is acting up. I'm going over to take a look. I lifted my gaze, my eyes shadowed and distant, watching his figure retreat. It's true, a man should die in the year he loves you most. 1. At 46, life is a triumphant gallop, swift as the spring breeze. My friends threw me a lavish birthday party, but I slipped away before it was over. A few children offered to keep me company, but I gently declined. Under their disappointed gazes, I left in a car. My spirits utterly deflated. At the intersection, an out-of-control truck came barreling towards me. My car flipped and was sent flying. If I had been just 1 second earlier or later, I could have avoided the crash, yet, I was the one it happened to. Just like Chiyu 20 years ago, we had a huge fight. He stormed out, slamming the door, and was hit and killed by a car the moment he stepped outside. For the next 20 years, I was often consumed by regret. If only I hadn't argued with him that day, if only I hadn't told him to get out, if he had left just 1 second earlier or later, he could have avoided that accident, but fate had it otherwise. He died in the year our love was at its peak. They say a lost love is even more haunting than a distant one. I couldn't agree more. After all, I will miss him until my dying day, too. Then, I opened my eyes. Chiyu was standing right in front of me. His face was dark, his entire body tense and trembling. He enunciated each word clearly. You're exactly like your mother. It suddenly dawned on me. No wonder I was hysterical, crying and telling him to get lost 20 years ago. That sentence hit the 26-year-old Xing Mingyang way too hard. It was no less humiliating than stripping her naked and forcing her to run down the street. But the me of now is 46. That statement left me completely unfazed. I even found myself nodding in agreement. It's always the people closest to you who know exactly how to hurt you the most. You practically hand them the knife yourself. Perhaps I had tucked away my sorrow, or perhaps I was just too composed. After a 2-second daze, panic flickered across Chiyu's expression. He instinctively wanted to step forward, to explain, but the movement only started before he pulled back. His face was taut, his fists clenched, and his eyes cast downward. I let out a long sigh, entered the bedroom, and found a sanitary pad from the drawer by muscle memory. A strange yet familiar cramping in my lower abdomen told me my period had arrived. Was it around this time in my past life? I can't remember. 20 years of time, coupled with Chiyu's death, have caused me to forget many specific details, like getting my period. For instance, what was the reason for our argument this time? By the time I got ready and came out, Chiyu was already gone. My heart sank. Was this kid trying to get himself killed? But the timeline had already shifted, just as I always thought. If it had been a second earlier or later, he could have avoided it. If not, then I guess it was simply his fate to die. Alright, I admit it, suddenly being reborn, with the lost love of my life coming back. In the end, it wasn't all that I imagined. There wasn't much of the ecstatic joy of getting something back. Instead, there was a bit of a disappointing letdown, like a filter had shattered. Then, turning my head, I saw Chiyu open the balcony door and walk in. Oh, he went out for a smoke. Our eyes met, and he suddenly laughed, a mocking laugh. What, did you think I went to find Lin Chu? Xing Mingyang, you still don't trust me. I frowned at him, my gaze clearing before my eyes widened in realization. I remember now. Lin Chu. The reason Chiyu and I fought was Lin Chu. 3. That name, long forgotten by me. Her sudden mention was like an anchor, instantly pulling the memory back to the surface. Today, Chiyu picked me up from work in his car. It was a brand new car without license plates yet, probably just bought by one of his friends. The car window rolled down, revealing Chiyu in the driver's seat, with Lin Chu sitting in the passenger seat. She was on a phone call, gave me a slight nod, and then looked away. Chiyu gestured to the back seat and told me to get in. Of course, I wasn't happy about it, but since it was someone else's car, I decided to let it go. We all went to a restaurant together, where several of Chiyu's friends were waiting, along with their girlfriends. One of the girls winked at me and teased, "Congratulations on the new car." What new car? We stared at each other in confusion. She thought I was joking with her. Funny enough, I was thinking the exact same thing. That's the car Brother Chi picked you up in. It's his new one. You didn't know. I had no idea. He started looking a week ago. He took it for a test drive 3 days ago, picked up the car today. From start to finish, I had no idea what was going on. For the first time, I didn't spare his feelings at all. I just turned and walked away. Chiyu caught up and practically dragged me, pushing me into the car. We walked home in silence, and the moment we got inside, a huge fight erupted. I just don't want you to worry about these things. I want to give you the best, a car, a house, you just enjoy them. At 26, Xing Mingyang accepted this explanation. In my past life, my only issue was with him and Lin Chu. Lin Chu was the one who went with him to pick it out, the one who went on the test drive, the one who was there when he took delivery, and the very first person to ride in the passenger seat. That's because Lin Chu handles the company finances. The car has to be registered under the company, paid from the corporate account, with an official invoice for tax deductions. Which part of that could you do? Which part would you even know how to do? In my past life, I accepted that explanation all the same, but deep down, I felt uneasy, stifled, wronged, and utterly miserable. I could only sob and yell at him. Is it that you just like Lin Chu? You know perfectly well how much her presence bothers me, so why can't you keep your distance from her? I wanted Chiyu to give me his word, to draw a clear line with Lin Chu, to swear to the heavens that he loved only me. But in the end, all I got from him were 4 words: you're being unreasonable. Human beings really are a strange and fascinating species. Different stages of life bring different perspectives. What once brought you to the brink of despair will seem like nothing 20 years later. You don't trust me. He doesn't want me to worry, want to give me the best. There's nothing between him and Lin Chu. No, none of that is the point. The point is, with his career starting to take off, Chiyu, well, he's gotten a big head. Chiyu, how many years has it been since we first met? I poured myself a glass of warm water, sat upright on the sofa, and asked with great earnestness. I believed my expression was gentle and my tone was kind. Chiyu seemed to have his defenses triggered, instantly on guard. What are you trying to say now? That you know me so well? That you know exactly what I'm thinking? Xing Mingyang, do you have to dredge up our entire history every single time we have a disagreement? Do you have to keep saying the same old things? Is it really that interesting? Did I have this bad habit even when I was young? I always thought it was something that came with old age. Of course, I didn't notice it at first. I ran into a bartender once and asked him, "How old are you? Where are you from? You mix a good drink. I'll come see you again next time." My friend covered her face and said, "You're so cringe, like a middle-aged uncle." I thought I was just being sociable, but it turns out I'm just getting old. I really need to fix this habit. I blew on the water in my cup, took a sip, and let out a contented sigh. This action, I froze, put the cup down. That needs to change too. I looked up at Chiyu. Alright then, let's cut to the chase. We're done. 4. I was reborn. After my rebirth, I had 3 major tasks. First order of business, keep Chiyu alive and kicking. Done. Second order of business, dump Chiyu. Unilaterally accomplished. Third on the list, once this period pain is over, I'm going to find my dark, unhinged boss and get our marriage certificate. The period pain is currently in full swing. Ever since my first period, the pain has been absolutely excruciating. I need 4 drip and painkillers. It wasn't until I got to university that I realized it was an actual medical condition. Something that needed treatment, so I asked my mom why she had never taken me to see a doctor for it. My mom lowered her voice and snapped at me. Is this something to be proud of? Everyone has aches and pains. Are you the only one? See a doctor. Do you want your father and me to lose all face? In my last life, when I finally had money, the very first thing I did was seek medical help. Regulate your body and completely get rid of period pain. I didn't have any pain for over a decade after that. To the point where I almost forgot how excruciatingly painful it can be. Chiyu gave me the silent treatment. After I said we were breaking up, his face turned ice cold. He looked so coiled and ready to strike that I genuinely thought he was about to hit me, but in the end, he did nothing. He just slammed the door and stormed into the guest room. I slept fitfully that whole night. In the morning, before dawn had even broken, I rushed to the bathroom and threw up, vomiting until my insides felt torn apart, my heart wrenched in agony. Chiyu stood right at the doorway, his voice tight with concern. What's wrong? I didn't have the strength to speak. I just moved past him to rummage through the cabinet. What are you looking for? I found a heat patch. It's the last one. I tore it open and stuck it on my lower abdomen. I curled up on the sofa. Chiyu fell silent. another door slammed shut. He went back into the spare bedroom, a sharp, searing pain shot through my nerves. I rushed to the bathroom and threw up twice more. By the last time, I had no strength left. Lying exhausted and curled up on the floor, Chiyu stood behind me, leaning against the door, watching me with a cold gaze. Finally, as if bestowing a favor, he spoke. "Do you want me to get you a glass of water?" "No, thanks." My voice was hoarse and weak. I'd already ordered ibuprofen and heating pads online 10 minutes ago. Chiyu seemed to let out a cold, mocking laugh. "Get some rest, then. There's a problem with Lin Chu's door lock. I'm going over to take a look." I lifted my gaze, my eyes shadowed, watching his retreating figure. It's true, a man should die in the year he loves you most. 5. The chime of the doorbell, the sharp rapping on the door, must be the food delivery. I just didn't have the strength to get the door, and my phone was nowhere near me. He probably knew to leave it by the door. Then, the next second, a code was entered, the lock clicked, and the door opened. Slow, deliberate footsteps approached. I looked up, and our eyes met. The man raised a single eyebrow. Well, the full kowtow. "You shouldn't have. What's this? Were you two left out when the country was founded? That's quite unnecessary. Rise. I don't require such formalities. That level of snark, that speed of delivery. It's Fu Yungue, no doubt about it. What are you doing here? How do you know our door code? Don't just stand there. Give me a hand." Fu Yungue froze. After all, I've always been terrified of him. In the past, seeing him was like a mouse seeing a cat, or a chick seeing a hawk. This was the first time I had ever spoken to him like this. He clicked his tongue in annoyance. "Who gave you the right to order me around? You think I'll help you just because you said so? You, who crawled out of a toilet." Xing Mingyang, let go. I ignored him completely, grabbed onto his pant leg, pulled at his arm, and snatched the medicine bag from his hand. Without even getting water, he broke open the pill and swallowed it dry. I collapsed onto the sofa, leaving only Fu Yungue, his face ashen and rigid, standing frozen in place. He was a germaphobe. The work environment was spotless. He wore gloves and carried disinfectant everywhere, and anyone working with him had to scrub themselves raw every single day. I was one of those people. In my past life, I never got the chance to settle that score before he died. Now that I've been reborn, getting a little payback feels absolutely fantastic. "Xing Mingyang, you're a dead man, you're dead." He called his assistant to bring a change of clothes, then he rushed into the bathroom. That wash took nearly half an hour. When I woke from my nap, he had already changed his clothes. "Has the assistant been here? How did you get in? Did he answer the door? Was he not wearing anything? Surely he wouldn't be that careless." "Oh, right, he knows our door code." "How on earth did you get our door code?" He straightened his tie and let out a cold snort. "There's nothing in this world I don't know." "Oh yeah, does Chiyu have a mole on his backside? I'll go explain things to Mingyang for you in a moment." "Alright, Chiyu, even if she was being immature, you shouldn't have." The sound of the front door unlocking came again. Chiyu and Lin Chu walked through the door. I was lying on the sofa. Fu Yungue hesitated for only a second before bending down. His hand hovered over my head, pretending to tousle my hair. In a voice so gentle it could drown you. "Remember to take your painkillers, and put on the heating patches I bought you. If you feel unwell, call me. I'm always here. Don't make me worry, alright?" "Alright." I'm so mad I could laugh. He didn't spend a single penny, yet he's taking all the credit. He's been dead for over a decade. I'd almost forgotten. He was no good either. "Fu Yungue, what are you doing? Stay away from Mingyang." Chiyu rushed forward in a fit of rage, only to be yanked back by Lin Chu. "Mr. Fu, Mingyang is Chiyu's girlfriend. It's inappropriate for you to be this close to her. Please leave." A faint, knowing smile played at the corner of Fu Yungui's lips. "Is it inappropriate? I thought that was just the Chi family way. What are you implying?" He wagged his finger between Chiyu and Lin Chuji. "After all, you two aren't exactly innocent either." "You, Mr. Fu," Lin Chu spoke up again, tightening her grip on Chiyu. "Mr. Fu, this is a matter between us. It has nothing to do with you. Please leave." "You too." Fu Yungue laughed, a cryptic smile playing on his lips. "See that, Xing Mingyang, this is between them. What are you doing getting involved? Don't you see how annoying that is?" "Alright, I'm leaving, Xing Mingyang. My offer still stands. Come find me when you've come to your senses." That bastard never does a decent thing, causing chaos everywhere, tearing down one house, setting fire to another, and then just dusting off his hands and walking away. Chiyu couldn't wait any longer and blurted out, "Xing Mingyang, What's your relationship with him? Why did he come looking for you? What was this promise he mentioned? After knocking on every door and asking everyone, ibuprofen finally got to the root of the problem. I slowly sat up. Before I could even speak, Lin Chu furrowed her brow and said sternly, Mingyang, your usual spoiled brat antics are one thing, but Fu Yungue is not someone we can afford to cross. He already has it out for our company. Don't let him use you as a pawn. 6. Lin Chu, Chiyu Sr. from university. She looked out for him a great deal back in their university days. Later, when Chiyu started his own business, she turned down a lucrative offer from a major corporation and resolutely chose to stand by his side. In their past life, after Chiyu's death, the ones most devastated, aside from his mother, were her. She was also the first one to point a finger and blame me. If it weren't for you, if you hadn't argued with Chiyu, he wouldn't have died. You killed him, Xing Mingyang, you did. In that most unbearable year, Lin Chu's words nearly drove me to take my own life. It was Fu Yungue who barged in and said to me with utter arrogance, is that all you've got? He died because he was unlucky, plain and simple. As for you, you're just collateral damage. You think someone can die just from arguing with you. Even the king of hell wouldn't dare claim to have that kind of power. After his scathing mockery, I went out to clear my head. By the time I returned, Lin Chu had vanished into the vast sea of humanity. As for the tangled web of love and resentment between the three of us, it simply drifted away on the wind. Now, having been reborn, when I think about it carefully, the entanglements between me, her, and Chiyu really run deep. Take her attitude towards me, for example. It has always carried a certain degree of tolerance and forbearance. It's as if I'm a clueless kid, and she, the adult, is choosing not to stoop to my level, all out of respect for Chiyu. It's really grating. So I jerked my chin in their direction. You two have slept together, haven't you? Lin Chu's eyes widened in shock, his face paling with disbelief. What did you just say? Chiyu could hold back no longer, pulling Lin Chu behind him. Xing Mingyang, that's enough. Do you have any idea what you're saying? Do you have any idea how much damage spreading rumors like that can do to a girl? Xing Mingyang, apologize. I let out a soft, derisive laugh. Lin Chu's face was a mask of restraint. She wiped the tears from the corner of her eye, suppressed a sob, and spoke with quiet dignity. Believe it or not, my conscience is clear, but Xing Mingyang, if you spread any more lies about me, I will sue you. Chiyu's face was a mask of anguish and pity, his hands clenched into fists, his jaw tight. Xing Mingyang, apologize. Without a word, I opened my phone, cast the screen, and a massive photo appeared on the television. The photo was dim and hard to make out clearly. The figures were blurry, but you could see the woman in the passenger seat leaning over toward the driver. The interplay of light and shadow made it look as if they were locked in a passionate kiss. That was Chiyu's car. In an instant, Chiyu whipped his head around, staring at Lin Chu in disbelief. As for Lin Chu, all trace of his previous composure vanished in an instant. He stood frozen in place, his face deathly pale. It was only after seeing Fu Yungue that I remembered this photo. He had sent it to me half a month ago. He's utterly shameless, pursuing me even though he knows perfectly well I have a boyfriend. I politely declined. He smiled and said it was fine. You two will break up sooner or later. Later, he sent me this photo with the message, you're welcome to come find me after the breakup. To be honest, I didn't believe it at the time, but for some reason, I didn't dare confront Chiyu about it either, so I just buried it deep in my heart. Torturing myself with it day after day, judging by their reactions now, it was probably Lin Chu who secretly kissed Chiyu. Could Chiyu really have felt nothing at all? I don't believe it. So, I clicked to play another recording. That day, after receiving the photo, I called Chiyu. The first call went unanswered, the second was hung up, and the third finally connected, but it was Lin Chu who answered the phone. Chiyu is asleep. Whatever it is, we'll talk tomorrow. I stopped the recording and smiled faintly once more. So, off to bed with you. 7. I had a 7-day period, so I gave myself 3 days off. On the 4th day, I went to the office first thing in the morning. Fu Yungue shot me a glance, then turned to his assistant and asked, am I the boss? Yes. Do I sign the paychecks? Yes. He let out an exaggerated sigh of relief and dramatically patted his chest. Phew, that was a close one. You scared me half to death. I thought the company had been taken over and was now under new management. All this beating around the bush, taking the long and winding road just to get a dig in at me. He really went through a lot of trouble for that. I submitted a leave request, and I approved it. for my leave, the department head's approval is sufficient. A look of understanding dawned on Fu Yungui's face. He adjusted his glasses and left with an unhurried air. I thought you'd finally grown a spine. Turns out you're just spineless. Fine, you're so great, but soon. He was left speechless. What did you say? Say that again. Say it again. Actions speak louder than words. I slammed my household register down on his desk. Didn't you say I could come to you if I ever broke up? Well, I'm single now. Want to get married? Fu Yungue fell silent. He looked at me, then at the household register. He looked at the household register, then back at me. After a long, restrained silence, he asked politely, Are you out of your mind? Of course I'm not. He's the one who's sick, half a cripple with a congenital heart defect, the kind that won't live long. In a past life, his inheritance was mine. He will be mine in this lifetime, no question about it. Not because of how much he likes me, but because I'm Chiyu's girlfriend. 8. Chiyu would never admit, under any circumstances, whether he and Lin Chu had slept together. Of course he wouldn't admit it, because they genuinely hadn't reached that point yet. No need for an in-depth investigation, you can tell just by looking at their reactions. But honestly, who cares? I'm making it perfectly clear that I intend to frame them. Chiyu showed up downstairs at our office, driving his brand new car. He looked utterly exhausted, his face drawn and weary, but when she saw me, she immediately mustered a smile and came forward to greet me. Mingyang, I'm here to pick you up from work. What would you like to eat? I'll take you. It was the peak of rush hour, with people coming and going all around. I looked at him, and my eyes instantly welled up with tears. You've already slept with someone else, so why did you come looking for me? My voice wasn't loud, but it was certainly not quiet. The crowd, 3 layers deep, stopped in their tracks in an instant. Chiyu froze, then reached out to grab my arm. It's not what you think. Between her and me, there's nothing. Get in the car, let me explain. I wrenched my arm away from him. You're already sleeping with someone else. Why won't you just leave me alone? Now, even the people 3 layers back could hear it. Chiyu's face was a picture of utter fury. That's enough. Mingyang, get in the car first. We'll talk about this at home. He pinned me down forcefully, trying to have his way with me. Before I could even sink my teeth in, several security guards rushed out from behind and restrained him from both sides. Let go of me. What do you think you're doing? Trying to kidnap my employee right outside my company, Mr. Chi, have you no class at all? Fu Yungue walked with an extremely slow, deliberate, and refined pace. I used to think it was just his personality, his habit. It was only later that I learned he did it to conceal his limp. A smile hung on his face, but his gaze was utterly detached. Chiyu struggled, glaring with fury in his eyes. Fu Yungue, let go of me. What do you think you're doing? The question is, what are you doing, President Chi? Trying to abduct a woman in broad daylight. She's my girlfriend. This is a private matter between us. It's none of your business. Oh, Fu Yungue drew out the syllable, his gaze fixed on me. Are you going to leave with him? I shook my head repeatedly, sobbing uncontrollably. Then, shall I see you home? I hesitated for a couple of seconds, then nodded. Thank you, Mr. Fu. Xing Mingyang, Chiyu roared, seeing me stop in my tracks. He lowered his voice. Mingyang, don't go. Don't leave with him. There's been a misunderstanding between us. I can explain. I finally couldn't hold back my tears any longer. You've already slept with someone else. Don't come looking for me again. In this world, only the one who framed you knows the depth of your injustice. But a lie, when repeated often enough, becomes the truth. Fu Yungue watched me with a faint, ambiguous smile. This continued until I had dried my tears and started to blow my nose. He immediately recoiled, trying to press himself back into the seat as if he could disappear into it. Are you serious? That's disgusting. You don't blow your nose. Do you just swallow it all? Fu Yungue drew in a sharp breath and held it for a long moment. He clenched his fist, his teeth gritted. Stop the car, let her get out. I'm out of here. The car drove forward 10 meters, then reversed back. The car window rolled down by a fraction of an inch. Fu Yungue's voice was icy cold. 8 a.m. tomorrow, at the Civil Affairs Bureau. If you dare not show up, I'll bury you alive. Ha, as expected, his inheritance is mine after all. 9. When I got home, an unexpected person was waiting outside my door, with a dark expression. She fired off 3 questions in a row. Why did you change the password? Why can't my fingerprint unlock it? Why aren't you answering your phone? Oh, it's my dear mother. She showed up so quickly at this critical moment. Did Chiyu call you? It was better left unsaid. The moment my mom heard Chiyu's name, she looked like she wanted to take a bite out of me. Have you been out there spreading rumors that Chiyu is fooling around with someone else? Xing Mingyang, have you no shame? It's always said that family scandals should stay within the family. Look at your father back then, he brought his affairs right into our home. Did I ever say a word? I swallowed all the bitterness and kept it to myself. Why did I do that? For you. And now look at you, showing no respect for your father and me. If people find out, they'll just say we failed to raise you right, that you have no upbringing. My mother's greatest pride in life was being a virtuous wife and devoted mother. No matter how despicable her husband was, whether he neglected the family, fooled around with other women, gambled, or even hit her, she could always forgive him, because she had to be tolerant. She had to endure it all for the sake of her children. That was what it meant to be a virtuous wife and devoted mother. But that doesn't mean she didn't have her share of bitterness. Unable to confide in outsiders, she poured all that bitterness onto me. In those years when the pressure felt most suffocating, I sobbed to Chiyu, I swear I'll never become someone like my mother. That's why, when Chiyu said, "You're exactly like your mother," it cut so deep. Many people like me have probably gone through the same emotional journey. I refuse to be exactly like my mother. I become exactly like my mother. I can't accept that I'm exactly like my mother. I have to accept that I'm exactly like my mother. So what if I'm exactly like my mother? I am not my mother. In my past life, I lived to 46 and completed that entire journey. Looking at her now, my heart is calm as still water, and I even feel a bit of pity, not pity for her. I pity her for what she's about to go through. Her eyes were red with rage, and she was trembling with fury. Chiyu says you want to break up. I won't allow it. You stuck with him when he had nothing, and now that he's finally made something of himself, you want to leave. Isn't that just how men are? They fool around. So what if he has a few mistresses? As long as he's still willing to marry you. You just need to control the money. What are you doing with that knife? Shoo. I pointed upstairs. Listen, there's a kid crying every single day. I'm going out of my mind. I paced around in agitation. I rushed up to my mother and, under her terrified gaze, shoved the knife into her hand. You're my mom, right? You'll help me, won't you? Mingyang, what are you doing? Her voice was already trembling with tears. I grinned. Go up there and cut them down, make them shut up. It's so damn noisy. But, Mingyang, you live on the top floor. There's no one above you. No one. Impossible, I growled. I heard it clearly, crying and screaming, over and over. He was crying and shouting, saying, say what? He said he was in so much pain. I turned my head to look at my mom. He said it hurt so bad. My eyes grew wider and wider. I remember now. He's not upstairs, he's in the kitchen. I put him in the fridge. My mother let out a shriek and fled out the door. I composed my expression, dropped the knife, and felt a wave of listlessness. Life pro tip. When the world seems unkind, try being a little fierce. You'll find it suddenly becomes quite civil. 10. At 8 o'clock sharp in the morning, I arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau. 10 minutes past 8, Fu Yungue showed up. His eyes were slightly squinted, looking like he hadn't fully woken up. Made up your mind. I glanced at the time and pulled him inside. Hurry up, we're almost next. Don't touch me. I clicked my tongue in disapproval. Fu Yungue glared. What's with that attitude? That look in your eyes, are you looking down on me? Xing Mingyang, have you lost your mind? Alright, let's hurry up. I'll treat you to red bean cakes after we get the license. It's been ages since I've had to coax anyone. My technique is clearly rusty. Fu Yungue wore a scowl the entire way. Even the staff member taking our photos shot me a look of pity. I responded with a wry smile. Fu Yungue snorted coldly. Cut the act. Don't make it look like I'm bullying you. TSK, Xing Mingyang, how come I never noticed before just how fake you are? Holding the freshly printed marriage certificate, I held it up to the light for a look. Isn't it perfectly normal for a person to show different sides to different people? Or are you saying the face you're showing me now, President Fu, is your true one? In an instant, Fu Yungui's face fell. This was no longer like the playful banter from moments before. It was genuine, unmistakable displeasure. What are you implying? A smile played on my lips as I leaned in closer to him. Mr. Fu, when are we going to have a baby? Are you out of your mind? 11. I'm a person of action. The day after I mentioned wanting a child, I dragged Fu Yungue off to the orphanage. He seemed to be on the verge of saying something, his mouth opening and closing. So, when you said you wanted a child, this is what you meant. Yeah, what else would I mean? Fu Yungue laughed, a laugh of sheer exasperation at my antics. Xing Mingyang, you're something else. He turned and left without a moment's hesitation, but Yu Zhu was still there, same as ever. You've got all the necessary documents, right? Let's go, we're going to have a baby. In my past life, I arrived at the orphanage 3 years after Qiyu's death. I adopted a girl named Xingwan, a sweet, sensible, and obedient child. Her grades were always excellent. She got into medical school and became a doctor. But she always had one wish, to find her older brother. He wasn't her biological brother, but an older boy from the orphanage who had always looked after her. Once, when she was drunk, she wept silently without making a sound. Mom, she said, if it weren't for me, you should have adopted my brother. I didn't say a word, just stroked her head. She never knew that I later met that boy, missing an arm. He was working odd jobs at a night market stall. He recognized me, too. He begged me not to tell Shanwan, bought a ticket that very night, and vanished without a trace. As the saying goes, life is suffering for all, but in this world, some people are simply dealt a heavier share of suffering. 12. Splat. A tomato fell from the sky and landed right in front of me. Looking up, I saw a boy straddling a tree branch, making a face at me. Naya Naya Naya, you ugly woman, you'd better not adopt me, or else, you'll be sorry. Mrs. Sheng, are you alright? Yu Zhu pulled me back, looked up at the child, and frowned. This child is really out of line. I also looked up. The sunlight was a bit harsh, the same old trick, the same old method. In my past life, a kid greeted me in exactly this way. There's no doubt about it, he got passed over. That's why I later adopted the timid kid trailing behind him, the one he shoved away like a burden. Kid, what? Call me mom. I've adopted 2 children, a 9-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl. The boy was clearly on guard, his gaze never letting up. He was either staring intently out the car window or stealing glances at me. The girl, however, was a bit of a dope, clutching the boy's sleeve. She fell asleep in no time. I was fiddling with a little piece of wood in my hand. The boy frowned. This belongs to my sister. Yeah, she gave it to me. Do you know why she gave it to me? The boy pressed his lips tightly together and said nothing. I tossed the little piece of wood and smiled. She begged me not to be angry with you, not to hit you. Are you afraid I'll hit you? The boy hesitated for only a second before shaking his head decisively. I'm not afraid, just don't hit my sister. Alright, but you have to tell me, why did you throw a tomato at me? The boy fell silent for a long time. I want you to adopt my sister. His voice was very low, filled with hesitation and timidity. A half-grown child, no matter how precocious, is still just a child in the end. I gave a soft om-hom and slid the snacks I kept in the car toward him. Have some, rest for a while, we've still got an hour's drive ahead. But he didn't move. It was as if my kindness had given him courage. He asked, why did you adopt 2? I rested my chin in my hand and looked out the window. Because I was starved for affection, feeling unloved. Yeah, starved for it, a whole lot of love. So, should we give you some love? Yes, I nodded gravely. The more love you give me, the better I'll be to you. If you stop giving it, then I'll stop being good to you. The boy fell into deep thought. After a long moment, he pulled a preserved plum candy from his pocket. Here, I love you. 13. Fu Yungue stood there in light-colored pajamas, draped in a dark robe. He swirled a wine glass filled with milk, his face a mask of world-weary disdain for everyone in sight. I nudged the 2 children forward. Xingyi, Xingwan, say hello to your father. 2 of them, right? The 2 kids were clearly a bit afraid of Fu Yungue, but they mustered their courage and called him Dad. Fu Yungue made a displeased tisk sound and pulled out a red envelope. I only brought one, figure it out between yourselves. Quite particular, isn't he? I raised an eyebrow and gave a nod, signaling for them to take it. Fu Yungue downed the milk in his glass in one go, a cryptic smile playing at the corner of his mouth. He's clearly up to no good. Me too. To what? Fu Wenyu, come here. Say Mom. A tall, strapping young man, standing at 6 feet, with sharp brows, bright eyes, broad shoulders, and a narrow waist, emerged from the kitchen. With an impassive expression, she took off her apron. Mom. My eyes widened as I pointed a trembling finger at Fu Yungue. Are you out of your mind? I met Fu Wenyu once. At Fu Yungue's funeral. I thought he was there to contest the inheritance with me, but he said he didn't want anything, that it should all go to me. He is the son of Fu Yungue's half-brother. He said Fu Yungue had helped him before, so he came to see him off. So, technically, he should be calling Fu Yungue uncle. What kind of decent person makes their own nephew act as their son? That's just crazy. 14. This makeshift family started out just trying to get by. But somehow we ended up with a full-course feast. In just 3 days, we went from having nothing to becoming a family of 5. We've been married for 3 days, and we already have 3 kids. The oldest is 16. Next up is meeting the parents. Fu Yungue is taking his family of 5 to meet his father. I settled in at the Fu residence with the 2 kids. Chiyu has been calling me non-stop these past couple of days. I also got a message from Lin Chu. I admit it, I have feelings for Chiyu. But he knows nothing about it. It was a moment of weakness on my part, and I crossed a line, but I swear, that's all it was. You shouldn't take it out on him. He likes you so much. Why are you torturing him like this? I read it carefully and sent her a 5-word reply. Oh really? I don't buy it. Lin Chu doesn't like me. All of Chiyu's business partners dislike me. I'm always disrupting Chiyu's work, constantly calling him and making him spend time with me. Xing Mingyang is too high maintenance and suspicious, completely inconsiderate. Chiyu will get fed up with her sooner or later. I still think Chiyu and Sister Chu are a better match. He's only truly at ease when he's with her. That's why he goes out of his way every morning to pick Lin Chu up for work. She prepares breakfast, and they eat it in the car before heading to the office, chatting and laughing the whole time. Fu Yungue captured all of this and sent the photos to me. I confronted Chiyu about it. His reply to me was, I was just going that way anyway. Consider the breakfast as payment for the ride. There's nothing between us. Why won't you believe me? When we're young, we're always so eager to prove things, to prove that he loves me, and then to prove that he doesn't, testing this, testing that, going around in circles. The only one who ends up trapped is yourself. In my past life, Chiyu's timing was just too perfect. Back then, everyone said he loved me most. But what if he hadn't died? Then it would have been our love that died. Fu Yungue had proper clothes tailored for every one of us. The 2 little ones looked both bewildered and nervous. I straightened their collars for them. Xingyi, look after your sister. He nodded firmly. I'll keep an eye on my sister and make sure she doesn't get into any trouble. I pinched his little cheek. Wrong. It's about not letting anyone bully your sister. If someone picks on you, you fight back. If you can't win, you come find me. What if you can't win either? I looked up at Fu Wenyu, and his expression was already a picture of speechless dismay. I then turned my gaze to Fu Yungue. He rolled his eyes, as if I could take him on. Today, he was carrying a cane, looking every bit the refined scoundrel, but his face was noticeably pale. He started walking out. Our main mission today is to have fun. If we're not having fun, we're flipping the table. 15. When we arrived at the Fu family's old mansion, the butler answered the door. He was taken aback for a moment at the sight of our large family, but being a professional, he quickly composed himself. The master is still in his study. Please come in, young master, madam, and these children, my son and daughter. I brought them to see their grandfather. Yes, the aunt brought over the tea and pastries. They were exquisite and beautiful, and Xingwan's eyes lit up. I nodded. Go ahead, have some. She carefully selected a piece and shyly offered it to me. Mom, this is for you. Thank you, Xianwan. Before she could finish the pastry, a voice spoke up. It's getting late, stay for dinner. Yungue is here too. You 2 brothers. No, thanks, I've got things to do. The man's voice was low and distant, yet it made me narrow my eyes instantly. It was all too familiar. I turned my gaze to Fu Yungue. He gave me a smile. It was obvious he did it on purpose. Yungue, you're back, Dad. Fu Yungue stood up and took my hand. Across from us, the man's gaze, which had been idly sweeping the room, snapped into focus the instant it landed on me. He stared blankly for a couple of seconds, then his eyes dropped to our clasped hands. In that split second, all the color drained from his face. Dad, this is my wife, Xing Mingyang. Hello, Dad, I'm Xing Mingyang. I smiled and nodded, the address rolling off my tongue with surprising ease. Chairman Fu frowned. When did you get married? We just got the license 3 days ago. This is absurd. The pale-faced man seemed to snap back to his senses with that sharp rebuke. You got married. He spoke through gritted teeth, each word deliberate and strained. Xing Mingyang, you lied to me, didn't you? Xiao you 2 know each other. It was Chairman Fu who spoke. His gaze shifted between the 3 of us, as if he were genuinely in the dark about the whole situation. I kept my smile in place, lifting my eyes to meet Chiyu's disbelieving gaze. Lie about what? Getting married? I really am married. Do you want to see the marriage certificate? Impossible. I don't believe it, Chiyu growled, lunging forward to grab me. Fu Yungue pulled me behind him. What do you think you're doing? Get out of my way. Blinded by rage, Chiyu swung his fist at Fu Yungue. I gasped, but it was too late to react. Fu Wenyu lunged forward, placing himself in front of Fu Yungue and intercepting Chiyu's punch. Xingyi and Xingwan spread their arms wide. Don't you dare hurt Mom and Dad. A heavy silence fell over the room. Dad, Mom. This time, the blank look on Chairman Fu's face was far more genuine. Fu Yun raised his lowered gaze, a faint smile playing at the corner of his mouth. Yes, my children. He smiled at Chiyu, the expression laced with both provocation and menace. So now you're in a hurry. Why not wait until our kid is off to college? 16. Chiyu didn't have a father. He never had a father for as long as I've known him. His mother raised him all on her own. There are many rumors circulating about his mother. Some say she was promiscuous and got pregnant before marriage. Others claim she was abandoned by a man, a pitiful and lamentable fate. There are also whispers that she was the other woman, and that Chiyu is an illegitimate child. I always thought Chiyu didn't know who his father was. That was until high school. When Chiyu's mother fell seriously ill, Chiyu disappeared for 2 days, saying he was going to raise the money. 2 days later, he returned with the money to save his mother's life, and a body covered in injuries. That was the time he held me and told me he would make those who looked down on him pay. It wasn't until much later that I found out the person he was talking about was Fu Yungue. He went to see Chairman Fu, but the chairman wasn't in. Fu Yungue had him beaten and then threw a bank card at him. He said with a smile, I can give you money, this time and any time in the future, out of consideration for our shared blood, but you must remember, you will always be nothing but an illegitimate son who can't be shown in public. Fu Yungue was in high spirits, humming a tune as he leafed through the brochure. What are you looking at? What do you think of this school? It has a kindergarten. We could send Xingwan there for a 6-month program, and Xingyi could go straight into 3rd grade. Would we need to hire a tutor too? I glanced at the contents of the brochure and was utterly flabbergasted. Are you looking at schools for Xingyi and Xingwan? He immediately pointed a finger at me. Don't overthink it. I hate owing people favors. Considering how they charged into the fray for us today, I'll find them a good one. What about Fu Wenyu? Fu Yungue looked at me like I was an idiot. You don't actually think he's illiterate, do you? I pressed my lips into a thin, tight line. Such a fine man. If only he'd keep his mouth shut. Fu Yungue snorted. Don't worry, I said I don't owe anyone. All he cares about is money. And that's the one thing I have plenty of. I like money too, so, you know, Mr. Fu. The most stable relationship in this world is an employment one. Being Mrs. Fu is also a job. How much are you planning to pay me per month? Fu Yungue looked at me for a couple of seconds. If I remember correctly, you were the one who proposed marriage first. So, how much are you planning to pay me per month? Thinking it through that way, I started counting on my fingers. How much I give depends on how much a person has. My salary isn't high, so I'll give you 1/5 of it, 2,000. And I don't want 1/5 of yours, I want 200,000, how about that? Fu Yungue gritted his teeth, letting out a bitter, incredulous laugh. 100-fold profit, Xing Mingyang. Do you know that high returns come with high risk? Take the situation downstairs, for example. How do you plan to handle it? Handle it poorly, upset me, and you could lose everything. 17. Chiyu is downstairs. He caused a huge scene at the Fu family's ancestral home and was restrained by their bodyguards. We didn't even eat. We left immediately, yet, he didn't give up. He raced his car all the way to the Fu residence. He was stopped outside the courtyard. He called me countless times. He insisted on seeing me. Later, Lin Chu arrived as well. As if on cue, a torrential downpour began. Lin Chu tried to pull Chiyu away, but was shoved aside by him. It seemed they had a huge argument as well. In the end, silence fell. Chiyu stood in silence. Lin Chu held up an umbrella, keeping him silent company. This is the very definition of unwavering loyalty and selfless devotion. If it were me, I'd be moved too. Alright, I'll go out and see him. I stepped out of the villa, holding an umbrella. Chiyu rushed towards me the moment he saw me, but his steps faltered when I took 2 steps back. His breathing was heavy, his eyes were bloodshot, and he was soaked to the bone, trembling uncontrollably, a picture of utter wretchedness. He asked me, why? His voice was hoarse, each word dripping with anguish. Lin Chu had long since reached her breaking point. Xing Mingyang, how could you? How could you? You've known Chiyu for 20 years, you know exactly how hard he's fought to get here. How could you hurt him like this? Do Do you really think Fu Yungue has any genuine feelings for you? He's just using you to humiliate Chiyu. And you, are you going to be his accomplice? With righteous conviction, his words rang out with authority. I looked at Chiyu. Fu Yungue is your half-brother, you knew. I then turned to Lin Chu. You knew too, but I had no idea. I asked Chiyu, when did you tell Lin Chu? Why didn't you tell me? Did it just slip your mind? Chiyu's breath hitched, and he froze. No, it's not what you think, Chiyu. You had countless chances to tell me, but you chose to stay silent every time. You all knew Fu Yungue was getting close to me to get back at you, yet you all chose to say nothing. Were you testing me? Or just watching me make a fool of myself, Mingyang? Chiyu's voice was utterly feeble, like a drowning man unable to grasp a single piece of driftwood. I just didn't know how to tell you. I nodded. Right, you and Lin Chu are the ones who share everything, who are perfectly in sync. You even slept together, so just be together then. Why come here to interrogate me, to mock me? Lin Chu's grip on the umbrella tightened, her gaze fixed on Chiyu, tense yet expectant. Chiyu's gaze remained fixed, unwavering, solely on me. He growled. What do I have to do to make you believe me? There is nothing between Lin Chu and me. There never was, and there never will be. In that instant, the light in Lin Chu's eyes went out. I nodded. Then you'd better never be with her. Not ever. Fame and glory. Lin Chu urgently stopped me from continuing, her gaze turning fierce. I understood, offering Chiyu a faint smile. See, she's after your position. Her intentions toward you are far from pure. I had pushed Lin Chu's emotions to the absolute limit. The umbrella fell from her hand. She looked at Chiyu and said, yes, I like you. I want to be with you, too, but I never intended to come between you or hurt you. Chiyu, I just have feelings for you. Is that so wrong? Chiyu would not be swayed. I know him, at least not now. He won't. He took a step back and murmured, I'm sorry. Lin Chu shed tears of despair before turning and walking away. Chiyu's gaze fell on me once more. As if awaiting my verdict, I shrugged. What's the matter? Am I just supposed to forgive you and make up with you? I said with a hint of helplessness. Chiyu, I'm married, it's too late, understand, but you know perfectly well. What? He had ill intentions towards me. Then why didn't you tell me sooner? Now, it's too late. If you divorce him, Mingyang, I wouldn't mind. I frowned. You wouldn't mind. What would you mind? Me getting married? Or divorced? Even if I got married and then divorced, that's my freedom, not my fault. Since when do you get to have an opinion on whether you mind or not? 18. On the 5th day of my marriage to Fu Yungue, he exiled me, sent me down to the factory district to run errands. When I left, Xingwan's eyes were brimming with tears, hard to tell if she was sad to see me go, or just terrified from Fu Yungue trying to braid her hair. Fu Yungue had been messing with Xingwan's hair for half an hour, turning it from a mess into a complete bird's nest, yet he was having the time of his life. It's a good thing Xingwan was such a pushover. In the end, it was Fu Wenyu who couldn't take it anymore. He shoved a rice cake into Fu Yungui's hand, pulled Xingwan over, and had her hair neatly tied up in no time flat. Fu Yungue was still displeased and clicked his tongue in annoyance. Fu Wenyu paid it no mind. Grab your backpack, time for school. I spent 3 busy months at the factory site, working as an assistant, running errands for business, working on the assembly line, and even going over the accounts. During that time, Fu Yungue brought Xingyi and Xingwan to visit me once. The 2 little ones came rushing into my arms. Mommy, my teacher gave me this little red flower. I want you to have it. Xingwan's little face was flushed a rosy pink. Xingyi was acting all shy and hesitant. Here, this is for you. For who? For you. For Mom. He was holding a pair of fleece gloves. They were a simple, basic style, nothing special. $20. Got them at the corner store. The moment Fu Yungue spoke, Xingyi's face flushed bright red. No, it's the money my brother saved up over a week. He wanted to save more. But Dad suddenly decided to come. Fu Yungue let out a derisive snort, giving Xingwan's little braid a light tug. Ungrateful wretch. Then he looked at me, shaking his head with disdain. How come you're getting uglier by the day? It's that simple. With his unique talent, he managed to offend everyone in 10 seconds flat. Soon after, I was transferred back, straight into the management department, to work for him. He was always ordering me around. One day it was drafting proposals, the next negotiating deals, and the day after that, schmoozing at client dinners. I'm so swamped I don't even have time to hang myself. Of course, he wasn't idle either. He colluded with the shareholders to sideline Fu Jinyuan, and then proceeded to sabotage 2 of Chiyu's company deals in a row. To this, Fu Jinyuan said nothing and quietly went back into retirement. In fact, he was even rather pleased, remarking, "It just goes to show Yungue has the capability." As for Chiyu, far from being crushed by this setback, he turned misfortune into fortune and secured an even bigger partner. Fu Yungue had been busy all that time, but in the end, his efforts had zero impact. When I returned to the Fu residence, Fu Yungue was reclining under a sunshade, directing 1 adult and 2 children as they dug holes to plant trees. The hole was already big enough to bury all 5 of us, yet he still insisted it wasn't deep enough. I finished the plate of blueberries and dusted off my hands. "Alright, everyone out, wash your hands, dinner's ready." Fu Yungue's gaze was dark and venomous, fixed on me like a snake's. With a sudden sweep of his hand, he sent the fruit bowl flying off the table. It clattered to the floor, scattering its contents everywhere. Xingyi and Xingwan were frozen in shock, rooted to the spot. With his gaze lowered, Fu Wenyu let down his rolled-up sleeves and, taking a child by each hand, led them inside. "Xing Mingyang, who do you think you are? You think you can tell me what to do? Don't flatter yourself." I looked down at Fu Yungue from my superior position. "Your father rigged it. You only got rid of what he wanted you to get rid of. It was a feint, a diversion. He gave Chiyu something better." "Oh, showing off your talent to mock me." I stepped closer to him. Why what? Why resort to underhanded tactics? Because he can't beat you in a fair fight. So he has to scheme in the shadows. He's afraid of you. The cub has grown, and the tiger feels threatened. All he has left to intimidate the cub with is the fading echo of his former might. And the cub, does it really go weak in the knees at the sight of such a pitiful remnant? The tension drained from Fu Yungue, his demeanor shifting from that of a coiled spring back to a state of weary, almost lifeless calm. He rose to his feet at a leisurely pace. "So much talk, you're ruining my meal." 19. I saw Chiyu again at a banquet. He had lost a lot of weight and seemed utterly lifeless. His gaze remained fixed on me the moment he saw me. Lin Chu, standing beside him, wore a pained expression, her eyes towards me filled with resentment and bitterness. Fu Yungue grabbed my chin and turned my face toward him. "What are you looking at? Still hung up on him? Should I gouge your eyes out and stick them on him? He's like a cat. Whatever he marks as his territory becomes his. He doesn't necessarily like it all that much, but if something belongs to him, his possessiveness goes into overdrive." I accompanied him as he made the rounds for toasts. While others drank alcohol, we drank water. He pulled it off with shameless confidence. I was full from all the water, so I told him I was stepping out and headed to the restroom. I had just stepped out when I ran into Lin Chu. She was clearly here to corner me. She blurted out right away, "Do you know Fu Yungue has been working against our company?" I wiped my hands slowly, and then, Lin Chu frowned, "And then, don't you have anything else to say, or were you pulling the strings behind this too?" "Xing Mingyang, if you hate me, I can leave, but you can't help someone else destroy everything Chiyu has." "I hate you." "What?" I said. "I hate you. Can you just leave?" Lin Chu's face fell, his eyes filled with disappointment. "You don't deserve Chiyu's affection for you." People really do laugh when they're at a loss for words. Chiyu's path has been smooth sailing all along, and I always thought it was due to his own ability, but in the end, it was just the ladder to success the Fu family handed him, the Fu family's ladder to success, and the head of the Fu family took it away. What's the problem with that? Is that what you think of me? Chiyu appeared out of nowhere. A faint, deliberate smile flickered across Lin Chu's lips for just a second. Chiyu's face was etched with sorrow. "You know exactly what I've been through all these years, Mingyang." I thought, no matter what, you at least understood me. "You're a bastard, Xing Mingyang." My blunt statement was met with Chiyu's momentary bewilderment and Lin Chu's vocal warning. "But you refuse to admit it. But you need to use the Fu family's resources. But you still hold a grudge. But now they're not giving it anymore. And yet you're still upset about it." That's a tough one to call. An undisguised snicker. Fu Yungue stood not far away, watching the scene unfold like it was a show, grinning like a cat that's been thoroughly petted. He reached out his hand to me. "Come here." I walked towards him, but then, Chiyu suddenly lashed out, grabbing Fu Yungue by the collar. "Are you feeling smug, Fu Yungue? Do you really hate me this much? But all of this was between us. Why did you have to drag Mingyang into it?" Blinded by rage, Chiyu lost all reason. Lin Chu and I rushed forward at the same time, both grabbing hold of Chiyu. "Chiyu, let go." But he paid no heed, shoving Fu Yungue away with brutal force. Fu Yungui's lame leg simply couldn't support his own weight. Stumbling, his head slammed directly into the wall. A dull thud echoed. Fu Yungue. I rushed forward and caught him, but no matter how thin he was, his weight was more than I could bear. The full weight came down, and we both hit the ground together. Mingyang, get out of my way. I glared daggers at Chiyu. If anything happens to him, I'll kill you. In an instant, Chiyu's face turned deathly pale. Xing Mingyang, I'm here. Fu Yungui's breathing grew ragged, his gaze unfocused. As he grabbed hold of me, if I die, you won't die, at least. Not now. 20. Fu Yungue suffered a heart attack and was rushed to the emergency room. Assistant Yu acted with great efficiency, calling the police directly, and Chiyu was taken away. Fu Wenyu arrived on the scene immediately. Uncle Li will go to the school to pick up Xingyi and Xingwan. Fu Wenyu, go. I'll hold the fort here. Without a moment's hesitation, I turned and left. This was going to be a tough fight. Fu Yungue has a congenital heart condition. He is incapable of fathering an heir, which makes him an unsuitable successor. Yet, Fu Xingyuan stood firm against all opposition and consistently supported him. Is this a father's deep affection for his child? Even if Fu Yungue had other illegitimate children, his primary concern was still for Fu Yungue. This was clear for all to see. But if that's really the case, then why does Chiyu exist, a scion of the Fu family, ambitious, capable, and in peak physical condition? He was growing stronger by the day. His business acumen even sharper than Fu Yungue's. If he hadn't died young, I would have been his first trophy. Those were the words Fu Yungue said to me in his final moments in my past life. He said, when two tigers fight, one is bound to get hurt. The one left standing is the king of the jungle. This world operates on the principle of survival of the fittest, but without the inferior, how can the superior be set apart? Xing Mingyang, you need to understand, I am the inferior one. I'm a defective product. Fu Yungue was rushed to the hospital immediately. In the conference room, the shareholders promptly convened a board meeting, citing that a company cannot be without a leader. They moved to elect an interim chairman. Seated at the head of the table, Fu Xingyuan wore a kind, unassuming smile. Upon seeing me, his face registered surprise. Mingyang, what brings you here? I was looking for you, Dad. Why are you here? Yungue is in the hospital undergoing emergency treatment. The doctors keep asking why his parents haven't arrived yet. Why aren't you at the hospital? Aren't you worried about Yungue? Fu Xingyuan's expression froze for only a moment before he let out a helpless sigh. Someone has to manage the company's affairs. With Yungue in this state, I'm the only one who can help him now. No. I grabbed Fu Xingyuan's hands and pulled him to his feet. The company has hired so many highly paid professionals, they all have their own responsibilities. Things won't fall apart in such a short time. But, Dad, Yungue is still in the emergency room. What if they need a signature and you're not here? Dad, he's your only son. Aren't you afraid of missing your chance to see him one last time? A shadow of gloom flickered in Fu Xingyuan's eyes. I'll be direct. You, get the car ready. We're taking Dad to the hospital. Xing Mingyang. Oh, right, you. Tell me, if anything happens to Yungue, would Jia's chairman Qi be considered guilty of intentional homicide? We have the copy of the banquet hall surveillance footage. Right, hand it over to legal. Dad, what were you about to tell me earlier? Fu Xingyuan's lower eyelid had begun to twitch. He gave a thin, insincere smile. It's nothing, I'll go to the hospital right now. Having seen off the big Buddha, I sat down in his seat. He smiled with a kind and benevolent expression. How come no one called me to this meeting, uncles? Someone said with a dark expression. You're a woman, with Yungue in the hospital, shouldn't you be by his side? What are you doing here? My smile faded slightly. I am Fu Yungue's lawful wife. He left a will naming me as his sole heir should anything happen to him. Until he wakes up, I will be acting on his behalf in all company matters. Now, let's continue the meeting. My gaze swept across the room. The man at the head of the table on the left could no longer contain himself. He slammed his hand on the table. This is preposterous. Do you think running a company is child's play? You think you can just step in and take over? Did any of us agree to this? Director Wang, I pulled a document from the file and tossed it out. Over the past 3 years, you have abused your position to sell company raw materials to a trading firm controlled by your wife at more than double the market price, profiting over 10 million. On behalf of my husband, I must ask you to leave. I let my hand fall onto the stack of folders beside me, my voice flat. Shall we get back to the meeting? 21. I've been pulling 4 straight all-nighters at the office. Fu Yungue was out of danger as of last night and has been transferred to a general ward. Fu Wenyu sent me a message. It was brief, just an okay hand sign, meaning all was well. Scrolling up, I saw I had asked him the day before if he could handle it. He replied, yes, he's someone you can count on to get things done. When I stepped out of the meeting room, assistant, you told me that Chiyu's mother was here to see me, waiting in the lounge and refusing to leave. Should I have security ask her to leave? It's fine, I'll go see her. Chiyu's mother was a very gentle, soft-spoken woman. The moment she saw me, she began to cry and grabbed my hand. Mingyang, how could things have come to this? What on earth happened? Mingyang, please save Chiyu. You two grew up together. For the sake of your 20 years of friendship, please save him, please, I'm begging you, I'll get down on my knees for you. She was crying uncontrollably. I took her hands and helped her up. If there was anyone among these people I still felt a shred of gratitude for, it was her. In my past life, after Chiyu died, Lin Chu was the first to blame me, followed by his friends. There were accusations. There were repeated interrogations. It all boiled down to one question. Why did you have to pick that day to argue with him? Only her, Chiyu's mother, on the verge of being consumed by tears, she grasped my hand and said, Mingyang, it's not your fault, auntie. Did Lin Chu send you here? Chiyu's mother froze. Then turned her face away in shame. Auntie, you've been hurt before too. You know what men are like when they're two-timing. Auntie, Chiyu is mistreating me. She shook her head in a dazed, helpless way, unsure which statement she was even denying. I let out a sigh. You should head back. Chiyu will be fine. He'll be out in a couple of days. Really? Yeah, thank you, Mingyang, thank you, dear. Laughing through her tears, she turned to leave. Auntie, Fu Yungue is in the emergency room and hasn't been moved out of the ICU yet. Would you like to go see him? The color drained even further from Chiyu's mother's face. I can't. There are things to do at home. He wouldn't want me there. I see. I heard you looked after him when he was a child. I thought there would be at least some affection between you. Chiyu's mother shook her head, her voice so low it was almost inaudible. He hates me. I should go. I'm heading home now. I won't disturb your work any further, auntie. Do you know how Fu Yungui's leg became lame? This time, she didn't turn back. Her figure stiffened for an instant, then she quickened her pace and hurried away. 22. It was evening when I arrived at the hospital. Fu Yungue was lying in bed like a lord. Xingnuan was massaging his legs, while Xingyi fed him oranges by his side. Fu Wenyu was keeping his distance, cracking walnuts by the table. Mom, Xingnuan, my little sweetheart, lit up the moment she saw me. She hastily fished a chocolate out of her coat pocket. Mom, this is delicious. Here, you have it. You're such a sweetheart. Xiaonuan, thank you. TSK, you little rascal. The only one left, and I was wondering where it went. Get over here and massage my legs. 100 times on the right side too. Xingnuan, ever the obedient one, simply said okay and went to do it. I turned her head to the other side. Ignore him. Let's go eat. Have you finished your homework? I asked. Under the weight of his expectant gaze, he ducked his head and shrank his neck, his voice barely a whisper. Nope. I took the orange and stuffed it into my own mouth. Go do your homework. Okay. Finish your work before you eat. Okay. As for Fu Wenyu, I didn't even have to say a word. The moment I arrived, he stopped what he was doing and went back to doing practice problems. Fu Yungue was glaring at me again. Are you feeling resentful? Yes. Did they give you a hard time, with you being so thoroughly prepared? Who would dare? A smug look spread across Fu Yungui's face. Now you see how capable I am. Impressive, truly impressive. How insincere. Fu Yungue stayed in the hospital for less than a week. It was as if he had lice crawling all over him. He just couldn't sit still. He's the kind of person who, if he's miserable, has to make everyone else miserable too. I was utterly fed up and waved my hand dismissively. Discharge him. Chiyu had long since been released from the detention center. After that, he visited the Fu family's old estate twice. Fu Yungue was keeping busy as well. Department heads from the company were coming to the house every day, staying for hours on end. In contrast, I found myself with a lot of free time. He's clearly gearing up for something big. Whether he doesn't trust me or just wants to keep me out of it, I don't care. After all, in this world, we judge by actions, not intentions. For no one is perfect in their heart. I'm quite content with my freedom. We set up a little playground in the backyard for Xingyi and Xingnuan. The big pit they dug last time was turned right into a sandbox. There's also a slide, a trampoline, a swing, and a tent nearby. You can grill some meat, take a nap, and pick oranges right off the tree to make fresh juice. It had a unique charm all its own. Later on, I even set up a little tea brewing station by the hearth, when Fu Yungue was in a good mood. He'd come by for a couple of cups. If he was displeased, he'd just pour his tea right onto the charcoal embers. I could see he was deeply agitated. He seemed to be wrestling with a decision. 23. I never imagined Fu Yungue would be kidnapped. On the way to the office, he vanished, car and all. Chiyu was taken along with him. The old house received a call from the kidnappers. Fu Jingyuan was vague about the details, only telling me not to call the police or get involved, and that he would handle it. I didn't ask any more questions. I just followed him, going wherever he went. He was pinned under my gaze, unable to move a muscle, and finally admitted they were demanding a ransom of 200 million. My face darkened, and I turned and walked away without another word. How much cash can the company free up? What's in Fu Yungue's accounts? If that's not enough, sell the antiques, the houses, the cars. We must raise that money, no matter what. Assistant Yu tried to reassure me. Mr. Fu is also gathering funds. It'll be alright, I'm sure of it. No, I bit down on the blister at the corner of my lip. I'm not afraid he won't plan, I'm afraid he will. Fu Yungue's words about the defective product still rang in my ears. I have to prepare for the worst. I didn't go out of my way to hide it from the kids, but I didn't make a point of telling them either. They probably overheard. Xingyi pressed the 200 yuan he'd painstakingly saved into my hand, with tears welling in her eyes. Xunwan said she had traded a hairpin with her deskmate for 50 yuan. Fu Wenyu gave me a card. He gave me 800,000, plus what I'd saved myself. It's all in there. I curled the corner of my mouth into a smile, directing it at them. It's okay, Dad will come back soon. The day for the ransom drop arrived. In the abandoned shipyard warehouse, we transferred the money to the account specified by the kidnappers, just as they demanded. In the center of the room, Chiyu and Fu Yungue were each tied to a rusted metal chair. Duct tape covered their mouths, their hair was disheveled, and their faces bore bruises and exhaustion. Chiyu struggled and roared, the fury in his eyes impossible to conceal. In stark contrast, Fu Yungue remained as still and deep as an abyss. The kidnapper gave a satisfied nod. The money is here. Now, who do you choose? My mind went blank with a sudden buzz. Choose who? Chiyu's mother had collapsed, sobbing, into Fu Jinyuan's arms. But his lips still moved, murmuring, Xiaoyu, my Xiaoyu, save Xiaoyu. Fu Jinyuan's face was grim, his gaze shifting between Fu Yungue and Chi Yuji. Finally, he averted his eyes from Fu Yungue and lowered his head. From the depths of his throat, he forced out a dry, heavy, yet unmistakably clear voice. Chiyu, we choose Chiyu. Shut your mouth. I charged forward with a low growl. From start to finish, no one told me that 200 million could only buy one life. Chiyu's mother. Stammering and hesitant as if she had made no choice at all, Fu Yungue's father, as if caught in a dilemma, finally making a painful decision. Chiyu's inner turmoil. Fu Yungue's dawning comprehension. Wait a moment, what gives them the right to decide? Xing Mingyang, what are you doing? Fu Jinyuan's eyes widened in a mix of shock and fury. Chiyu's mother grabbed me. Mingyang, you can't do this. Xiaoyu will die. My breathing grew heavier as I looked at her. What about Fu Yungue? No one answered me. Not a single person replied, until the kidnapper spoke up. A legitimate son, disabled and not long for this world, and a healthy, promising bastard. Making them choose. Don't you think that's interesting? I snapped my head to look at him. One is my ex-boyfriend, my childhood sweetheart I've known for 20 years. The other is my current husband, whom I married in a whirlwind romance after only 6 months, and they're blood relatives. Don't you think it's more interesting to let me make the choice? Xing Mingyang. Fine, you choose. The moment his words faded, I spoke. I choose Fu Yungue. A pin drop could be heard in the warehouse. Chiyu's face turned ashen, his gaze toward me filled with utter despair and disbelief. The kidnapper pointed at him. So, you choose his death? I shook my head. I'm not choosing his death. I'm choosing Fu Yungue's life. 24. Xing Mingyang, shut your mouth. Fu Jingyuan had lost all reason, charging at me with his fists raised. Yu Zhu, who had been standing silently and almost invisibly behind me, finally moved. He caught Fu Jinyuan's fist and restrained him. The next second, a hasty, light chuckle was heard. Alright, the show's over, let's hear what the young master has to say. Fu Yungue flexed his wrists and stood up. The tape was ripped from Chiyu's mouth, but he remained silent, just staring at me in a daze. Fu Jinyuan's eyes widened. Fu Yungue, you. It was perfectly clear now. This was a little drama staged by Fu Yungue himself. He pulled over a clean chair from the side and sat down, brushing the dust from his clothes. I've been looking for the money you hid. I had no choice, you buried it too well. I had to resort to unconventional methods. I know all your dirty secrets now. I'll give you a choice, either you go to prison, or you send your beloved son abroad and make sure he never comes back. Fu Jinyuan clenched his fists, breathing heavily and laboriously as he hesitated. The person who understood his true nature best was Chiyu's mother. She rushed forward and threw her arms around Chiyu. No, you can't, you mustn't do this to Xiaoyu. She seemed to be saying it to Fu Jinyuan, yet also to Fu Yungue. Fu Yungue turned his head slightly, his thin lips parting. Why not? At 6 years old, convinced that Fu Jinyuan would never marry you, you decided to leave him. He only allowed you to take one child with you. You chose Chiyu. Chiyu finally reacted. He shuddered violently, his head snapping towards Fu Yungue, his eyes filled with utter disbelief. Fu Yungue didn't spare him a single glance, his focus fixed solely on Chiyu's mother. When I was 8, you took me to the countryside. The old house caught fire, and you only remembered to save Chiyu. A falling beam crushed my leg, and I had to crawl out of the fire myself. Mom, Chiyu's voice was hoarse, his eyes bloodshot. Is what he said true? Chiyu's mother was trembling all over, shaking her head frantically. No, you're my only child. I only ever had you. Fu Yungue stared at her for 3 seconds, then stood up. Excellent, Fu Jinyuan, I'm giving you 1 day. If he's not gone, you're going in. 25. Fu Yungue staggered out, taking the coat his assistant Yu Zhu offered and putting it on. His entire face was pale and drained of strength. When he failed for the 3rd time, I tried to help him, but he shoved me away. Xing Mingyang, don't think I'll be grateful just because you said those things. You saw right through it from the start. All of this is a lie. You're only saying that for my benefit. I watched him in silence, then suddenly laughed. I slapped him across the face, knocking his head to the side. If you don't start making sense, I'll hit you again. He spun around, took 2 steps away, then turned right back. He pulled out the loose change and a card from his pocket and flung it all at him. Xingyi's money was what Auntie Zhang paid him for helping her out. Xingluan pawned her favorite butterfly hairpin for cash. You said Fu Wenyu loves money most. Well, this card holds every last cent he has. Fu Yungue, go home. Fu Yungue was running a high fever. His body simply couldn't withstand that kind of strain. He was rushed back to the emergency room. Fu Jinyuan didn't hesitate. He sent Chiyu abroad. Just before boarding the plane, Chiyu sent me one last message. Do you really hate me that much? In my past life, I missed him. Amidst my successful career, fame, and nightly revelries, I often found myself thinking of him. In this life, I don't love him anymore, but I wouldn't say I hate him either. We just had a love that didn't quite work out. It left us both wounded and ended in a messy, abrupt way. The one who was truly entangled with him, from start to finish, was Fu Yungue. That night, as he was being loaded into the ambulance, dazed and confused, he asked me, am I really her child? I leaned close to his ear and whispered, yes, you are her child, she is your mother, but in this world, there are just some people who don't love their own children. It's not something you can choose. But you still have us, me, Fu Wenyu, Xingyi, Xingluan, we are the family you chose, and we want you to live. Fu Wenyu asked me, really? I shook my head, I don't know, but it doesn't matter, not everything needs to be so clear. If he wants her to be, then she is, just an answer. Who says an answer has to be correct? 26. Fu Yungue had once again cheated death, clinging to life by a thread, but his health was deteriorating, and sometimes he even needed to use a ventilator. Xingluan asked me, is Daddy going to die? I sat down, holding her in my arms. Everyone dies someday. Daddy will, Mommy will, and you and your brothers will too. So, are we back together? Is that what you want? For us to be together again, more than anything? Alright, in that case, your father should go ahead first to find a spot and build a house, otherwise, we'll have nowhere to stay when we get there. Is Dad building it all by himself? We'll burn more paper money for your dad, so he can hire help to build it. He can build one just as big as our house. Great, and I want to keep my own room. No problem. Just as I was speaking, a cherry hit me on the head. I turned around to see Fu Yungui's utterly speechless expression. You really are something else. You won't even leave me alone after I'm dead. Wait, I'm not even dead yet, and you're already planning for when I am. Xing Mingyang, you're no different from a beast. The spring festival that year was very lively. We had the New Year's Eve dinner and set off fireworks. Xingwan danced to a routine she learned in kindergarten. Xingyi sang a song, albeit a bit shyly and awkwardly. I thought Fu Wenyu would refuse to participate. To my surprise, he picked up a guitar and played "Congratulations and Prosperity." I gave them red envelopes. Amidst the laughter and chatter, no one noticed that Fu Yungue had fallen asleep. Suddenly, the surroundings fell into a deathly silence. In the silent moment, my mind went completely blank. Suddenly, Fu Yungue opened his eyes, holding a vigil. I was just asleep, I'm not dead. He stood up and stretched. I can't take you guys anymore, I'm going to bed. At that moment, the New Year's bell began to toll. Fu Yungue stopped in his tracks. For the first time, his voice softened. Happy New Year. The end. Story 2. After my uncle died in a car accident, my cousin suffered severe mental trauma and came to my home to recuperate. She fell in love with my boyfriend, and everyone told me to give him up for her. Even my boyfriend said, "Euro. She's already so pitiful, why are you making things difficult for her?" Later, I was also in a car accident. While I was being resuscitated, my cousin sobbed in my boyfriend's arms. So many people care when she dies, yet no one notices me when I'm alive. I died in the operating room, and my cousin took my guaranteed admission spot and married my boyfriend. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time when my cousin had just arrived at my home. Bitch, you killed my dad. And now you're stealing my boyfriend too. The moment I opened my eyes, a tremendous force pushed me against the wall. Mokur was holding scissors, about to slash my face. I instinctively resisted, pushing Mokur away. The scissors flew out of her hand as she staggered back several steps before tumbling down the stairs. Her hand was scraped, blood dripping down. Mokur simply sat on the floor, covering her face and sobbing uncontrollably. The surrounding classmates stopped and curiously turned to look in this direction. "Son Euro, what are you doing?" The person rushing over is my boyfriend Jianyu. He helped Mokur up from the ground. "Are you okay?" Following closely behind Jianyu was my best friend Tang Xian. Seeing Jianyu like this, she was furious. "Jianyu, are you blind?" Mokur was the one who grabbed scissors first, trying to slash Son Euro's face. "Whose boyfriend are you really?" Mokur can't tell. "But you should know better." Perhaps Tang Xian's voice was too loud, as Mokur seemed startled, shrinking into Jianyu's arms and crying even harder. Jianyu frowned. "Tang Xian, you know about Mokur's condition. After her father's sudden death, she developed severe psychological issues. How could you provoke her at a time like this? Don't you have even basic compassion?" As if sensing protection, Mokur timidly tugged at Jianyu's sleeve and stubbornly repeated, "You're my boyfriend." Jianyu patted Mokur's head and said in a soothing tone, Mokur was satisfied. She glared at me and said triumphantly, "If I see you talking to Jianyu again, I won't be polite." Jianyu sighed. He gave me an apologetic look, then scooped Mokur up in his arms. "Your hand is injured, I'll take you to the hospital first." 2. How familiar this scene was. In my past life, I also watched Jianyu and Mokur leave like this, back then, just like Tang Xian now. I was furious but utterly helpless. After all, Mokur was truly pitiful. My aunt passed away while giving birth to her, and she was raised by her uncle, who then died in a car accident during her senior year of high school. As a result, Mokur suffered severe psychological trauma and began experiencing intermittent episodes. To take care of her, my mother brought her to live with us. At first, I gave Mokur everything she wanted when she asked for my room or my clothes. I agreed without hesitation, until one day, Jianyu came to visit our home. He's the heartthrob of our school and also the young master of the Jiang group. Mokur fell in love with him at first sight. "Sister, please give Jianyu to me." I rejected Mokur, but after that, whenever Jianyu was mentioned, she would become somewhat hysterical. She started believing that Jianyu was her boyfriend, and that I was the other woman trying to steal him away. Whenever she saw Jianyu going on a date with me, she would cry bitterly and even cut herself with a small knife. Later on a rainy night, when Jianyu and I were watching a movie outside, she frantically called me, saying she had been kidnapped. I rushed over in a state of panic and got into a car accident on the way. During the emergency treatment, my soul seemed to detach from my body and float outside the operating room. Mokur was sobbing while curled up in Jianyu's arms. I was just joking. I never thought she'd take it seriously. If Sister Euro died, so many people would remember her. But while I'm alive, I only suffer. No one has ever cared about me. Jianyu couldn't help but hold her tighter. "Who says no one cares? You still have me. After my death, Moker's mental state seemed to improve significantly all at once. She recognized my parents as her own, took over my guaranteed admission spot, and went to Tsinghua University with Jiangyu. During Qingming Festival, she burned joss paper for me and my uncle. Dad, cousin, thank you for making this possible. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't even have gotten into a junior college. How could I be where I am today? At that moment, my soul was suddenly awakened. Moker was never ill. It was all just an elaborate scheme. A clear female voice came from beside me. Do you want to start over? Without hesitation, I replied, yes. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Moker first transferred to our school. Watching Jiangyu about to carry Moker away, I suddenly strode forward and said in a deep voice, Jiangyu, we're breaking up. Jiangyu's expression changed instantly. He frowned and said, Yuro, don't be rash, I'm serious, I said calmly. If you want to take care of Kuer, then take good care of her. We're over. After speaking, I turned and walked away without looking back. Ignoring Jiangyu desperately calling my name behind me. 3. After school, I called Tang Xian to the coffee shop. Does your father know someone in the traffic police department? I want to investigate the truth about my uncle's car accident. My uncle was an experienced truck driver. That day, everything seemed completely normal, yet he drove straight into a bridge pier. After hearing me out, Tang Xian got goosebumps. Are you suggesting his death might not be accidental? I remained silent. Uncle was a good man, not particularly capable, but fiercely independent. My family had offered financial help multiple times, but he always politely declined. After his death, Moker was adopted by my family, moved into a spacious villa, and began living a life with chauffeurs and maids at her service. Everything is just speculation for now. But recalling the expression on Moker's face when she mourned her father in her previous life, I can't help but think the worst. Tang Xian said it was no problem to leave it to her. She had just left when my phone rang. It was Jiangyu. Yuro, where are you? Let's talk. I had no intention of meeting Jiangyu, but he still managed to find this cafe, relying on his familiarity with me. Yuro, don't be angry. Holding my favorite pistachio cream puff, he sat beside me. You know, the only one I love is you. In my past life, I would have softened upon hearing such words, but now I just smiled coldly. Holding Moker in your arms while loving me in your heart, double-minded as ever, truly worthy of young Master Jiang. Jiangyu grew somewhat angry. I was just acting with Moker to stabilize her emotions. You're her own cousin. Seeing her so ill, don't you feel compelled to do something? Doctors exist for her illness. Why should I need to do anything? I waved my hand. Enough, Jiangyu. Breaking up is best for both of us. I've already called the hotel to cancel the engagement venue preparations. Jiangyu was stunned, staring at me in disbelief. Are you serious? He immediately glared at me angrily. Son Yuro, engagement is a very serious matter. There's no need to joke about it just because you're upset with me. It's no wonder Jiangyu didn't believe it. After all, I had always loved him so much. Wholeheartedly determined to go to Tsinghua University with him, with every plan for the future filled with thoughts of him. But now I don't want any of it anymore. One last time, I'm not joking, nor am I being petty. I met his gaze calmly. Breaking up, it's that simple. Jiangyu growled in a low voice. I don't agree. Before his words faded, a figure rushed into the cafe. Moker grabbed the coffee from the table and splashed it on me with lightning speed. Bitch, she screamed. Before I could retaliate, she swayed and collapsed into Jiangyu's arms. Jiangyu held Moker protectively with one hand while gripping me tightly with the other, his face drenched in sweat. Amid the chaos, I glanced behind the coffee shop counter. The boss secretly gave me an okay hand gesture. The corners of his mouth curled up silently. The owner of this coffee shop is my friend, and I just signaled him to turn on the camera. The entire episode of Moker's outburst was recorded. This is my backup plan, prison or mental hospital. I must send her to one of them. 4. The day's farce ended with Jiangyu sending Moker to the hospital. I went home alone and found no one there. Apparently, my parents received the call and went to the hospital to see Moker. I sat in the unlit living room, quietly pondering for a while. In truth, my parents love me very much, but they are also extremely strict with me, always holding me to the highest standards. When I was little and had conflicts with other children, they would always make me apologize first, not to mention that this time, Moker appeared as the complete underdog in everyone's eyes, so whenever there was any conflict between me and her, they would always superficially take her side more. This time when they went to the hospital, Moker must have played the victim again, probably throwing a lot of mud at me. Sure enough, a little over an hour later, Mom and Dad came home with Moker. Mom was supporting the weak Moker, while Dad's face was as cold as ice. Euro, come here, Dad called me. I clearly saw that behind him, Moker appeared to be weakly nestling in Mom's arms, but in reality, a barely noticeable smile had crept onto the corners of her lips. Did you provoke Kaur again? Dad's voice carried anger. You know perfectly well Kaur is sick, yet you embarrassed her in public. Euro, when did you become someone so devoid of empathy? Look. Mokur is twisting the truth again. Clearly she was the one who rushed in and splashed coffee on me, yet now it's turned into me embarrassing her. If this were my past life, I would desperately defend myself, trying to prove I didn't do such a thing, but in this lifetime, I know self-justification is useless. What works is going crazy together with Mokur. Isn't it just pretending to be sick? If you can do it, so can I. Lowering my head silently, I said in a pained voice, I'm sorry, Dad. I know I've let you down. Then, I took out a thick document folder, emptied it, revealing a diagnosis report provided by a psychological counselor and a completed leave of absence application form. My parents' expressions changed abruptly, and even Mokur couldn't help but straighten her posture. My eyes were red and swollen as I helplessly pinched my own arm. Lately, I can't control my emotions at all, and I'm completely unable to focus when studying. If this continues, I feel like I might end up taking my own life. Parents have limited energy, they can't take care of both me and Kaur at the same time. As the older sister, I should give way to her, so let Kaur take the college entrance exam this year. I'll take a gap year. As soon as I finished speaking, Mom was the first to panic. This won't do. Dad was slightly calmer than Mom. He pulled her into the bedroom. The two lowered their voices. Yet fragments of their conversation still reached us intermittently. Mom's voice trembled with tears. It's all my fault. I only thought Kaur needed care, so I brought her home, but I never imagined it would affect Euro too. Dad comforted her. Don't blame yourself yet. What's important now is finding a proper solution. In the living room, Kaur glared at me with resentment. She picked up the psychological counseling diagnosis form I had placed on the table. Son Euro. When did you go to the counseling center? This must be fake. I curled my lips slightly and whispered, you've never even been to a psychiatric department, just running your mouth. At least I have a fake certificate. The next second, our parents pushed the door open. I immediately put on a helpless expression. Please, stop blaming me. I'm willing to give Jiangyu and our parents to you. If that's still not enough, I'm ready to disappear from this world forever. Euro, what are you saying? Mom rushed over and tightly grasped my hand. You must never think like that. Dad then came before Kaur and said gently, here's the thing, we've discussed it and decided that our family has another house in the southern part of the city, which is closer to school. Kaur, why don't you move there first? We'll hire a caregiver to look after you. Kaur's eyes widened. Uncle, are you abandoning me? She immediately began to panic. Uncle, please, you're my only family left. Don't cast me aside. Both parents comforted her together, their tone extremely gentle but their stance unshakably firm. I sobbed quietly on the side, but inwardly sneered. In my past life, after I died in a car accident, my parents were utterly heartbroken. At that time, Kaur volunteered to become their daughter and care for them in their old age. Unaware of the truth, they agreed, but now, I'm still alive. Parents always favor their own flesh and blood. They couldn't just stand by and watch Kaur drive me to depression and suicide. Just like that, Kaur was sent away from our home. She went around school playing the victim, claiming I kicked her out of the house. Classmates started calling me a wicked sister for treating a poor orphaned girl so cruelly. I couldn't even be bothered to respond. The college entrance exam was what truly mattered. These rumors meant nothing. After high school graduation, most people would never see each other again anyway. Jiangyu also confronted me. Kiki cried to me half the night yesterday. Was it really necessary to treat her like that? I buried myself in solving analytic geometry problems without even looking up. Jiangyu, we've already broken up. You don't seem to have any standing to criticize me. I never agreed to break up. Jiangyu said resolutely, the engagement is a matter between two families. How can you end it with just one sentence? Well, that's interesting. I put down my pen, looked up, and smiled meaningfully. So you're saying you're still my boyfriend? Since you're still my boyfriend, can you explain why Kaur was crying with you half the night? A man and woman alone together late at night. Who do you think is being more inappropriate here? Jiangyu was choked with anger. I only feel sympathy for Imokura, she's your cousin and also my classmate. I smiled without saying anything. Actually, there's a recording in my phone. It was during Jianyu's gathering with his friends when one of them recorded it and sent it to me. In the recording, whether Jianyu was drunk or not, he said in a smug voice, "Have you all watched The Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber? Don't you think Song Yuro is just like Xiao Min? And Imokura resembles Xiao Zhao?" I sneered. What era is this? Still trying to play the red and white rose game? It's just that right now, I don't want to keep arguing with Jianyu. Verbal disputes are useless. The more you argue with rotten people, the deeper you sink. What I want to seize is tangible benefits. 5. But Jianyu is like a piece of chewed gum. Once it sticks, you can't shake it off. The school organized alumni from Tsinghua and Peking University to come back and give lectures, with the top 30 students in the grade attending. Coincidentally, Jianyu happened to be sitting right next to me. Before the meeting started, he stopped me, seeming somewhat hesitant to speak. "There's something I don't know how to bring up." "Then don't." I tried to walk past him, but he blocked my way. Jianyu gritted his teeth and finally spoke up. "Could you give your guaranteed admission spot to Imokura?" "No." I didn't even bother to lift my eyelids as I tried to shake Jianyu off. Jianyu grew anxious, gripping my wrist tightly as he forcibly pulled me to the side of the corridor. "Yuro, listen to me. Saving a life is more meritorious than building a 7-story pagoda. Right now, you're the only one who can save Kur." Under my scrutinizing gaze, Jianyu haltingly recounted the entire incident. It turned out Imokura had stirred up trouble again. She faked a suicide in the bathtub, then called Jianyu, who broke down the door at the last moment before she lost consciousness and saved her. After enduring this melodrama straight out of an 80s tragic romance novel, Imokura tearfully told Jianyu that if she couldn't attend the same school as him, she would die. As everyone knows, both Jianyu and I have been recommended for admission to Tsinghua University. As for Imokura's grades, the gap to get into Tsinghua is probably about 400 points short. "That's great, Jianyu," I nodded. "Since Imokura is determined to attend the same school as you, and you really want to make her wish come true, why don't?" Under Jianyu's expectant gaze, I smiled at him and said, "You tutor her. Although there's only 1 month left until the college entrance exams, perhaps heaven will be moved by your kindness and create a miracle." I turned and walked away, but Jianyu, furious, blocked my path in one swift step. "Song Yuro, do you even hear the nonsense you're saying? In Imokura's current state, how can she possibly take the college entrance exams normally? If you don't want to take the exams but still want to get into Tsinghua, then let's all stop studying and learn how to play the victim instead." I rolled my eyes. "Please, just move aside. I need to attend the lecture." I finally shook off Jianyu and strode forward with long steps. "Behind me," he said with a sinister tone. "Song Yuro, don't think I don't know. Her father's death was your doing." The words were so shocking that I couldn't help but stop in my tracks, turning back in astonishment. "Kur told me everything. That day, it was you who said you wanted to eat free-range chicken soup. Her father had just returned from driving and went out again to deliver the chicken to you. He was fatigued while driving, which led to the accident." Perhaps my expression was too unpleasant. Jianyu softened his tone. "Of course, Yuro, I know you didn't do it on purpose, but what's done is done. Kur has become like this now, and you bear some responsibility. You should atone to Kur." I remained silent as Jianyu stepped forward, trying to embrace me. "Yuro, I know you don't believe me, but I truly only feel pity for Imokura. She's your sister, and I treat her as one too, but in my heart, the one I love has always been you." Before Jianyu could finish speaking, a cold voice interrupted him. "Classmate, you've been blocking this path for almost 10 minutes. When are you going to move?" Jianyu and I turned our heads together. A girl in a white shirt stood not far away, with gold-rimmed glasses hanging on her chest, hands in her pockets, her expression somewhat aloof. I recognized her. She was one of the speakers for this lecture, Senior Su Shaoran, who went to Peking University. For some reason, the moment I heard her voice, I suddenly froze. When I was reborn, a voice whispered in my ear, "Do you want to start over?" That voice was exactly the same as Su Shaoran's from just moments ago. "Bro, this isn't working. The girl is clearly annoyed with you, yet you're still pestering her here." Behind Su Shaoran, a tall young man sauntered up with a carefree attitude. His face had an ageless quality, blending a man's mature features with a youth's clear-eyed freshness. A name tag pinned to his chest read, "Alumni, Ji Zhao." In that instant, fragmented memories suddenly flooded my mind like scattered puzzle pieces. A strong intuition tells me I've seen these two people before. 6. Thanks to Su Xiaoran and Ji Zhao, Jiangyu couldn't continue pestering me. As soon as the lecture ended, I immediately bypassed the crowd and approached Su Xiaoran. Senior, could I have your contact information? Su Xiaoran studied me for a long time. Then smiled. Didn't you get directly admitted to Tsinghua? I'm from Peking University, you should go find your Tsinghua seniors. I hesitated for a long time before finally asking tactfully, have we met before? The moment I spoke, Su Xiaoran's expression changed. Ji Zhao, who had followed and now stood behind her, also showed a subtle shift in expression. At school, Su Xiaoran asked with apparent calmness. I mustered the courage to shake my head. No, not at school, it was at. With people coming and going around us, I didn't dare speak too directly, so I hinted vaguely, by a riverside, with red lotuses on the opposite bank. One of you was on a boat, the other on the bridgehead. Before I could finish speaking, both Su Xiaoran and Ji Zhao's expressions turned grave. You actually remembered, Su Xiaoran murmured softly. This probably means you'll face many more trials ahead. She tore off a sticky note, wrote down a string of numbers, and handed it to me. Here. This is my WeChat. After Su Xiaoran and Ji Zhao left, I added that WeChat account. The ID is very strange, called the Upstream Traveler. Before I could even say hello, a meme was thrown at me, followed by a few lines that gave me goosebumps. Whether a reborn person can survive depends on fate. Your current situation is very bad, you might die again. If there's danger, send a message to this WeChat. I held the phone, my fingertips trembling slightly. I've already avoided all the critical moments from my previous life. Could Moker have some new trick up her sleeve to kill me? 7. I locked myself in my room and thought it over carefully all night, then decided to adjust my strategy appropriately. So when Jiangyu called me again, instead of hanging up as usual, I answered. Jiangyu seemed surprised, then let out a long sigh. You've finally stopped giving me the cold shoulder. I tried hard to suppress the urge to roll my eyes and said calmly, what's the matter? Jiangyu said, it's my birthday party on Friday, all the classmates will be there. You'll come to celebrate with me, right? All the classmates will be there. I let out a silent scoff and asked, will Mokur be coming too? Jiangyu's throat felt a bit dry. Well, if you don't want to. No, that's not what I meant. I'll go celebrate your birthday with you. Hanging up the phone, I smiled faintly. Mokur is quite something. She gets sick when told to study for college entrance exams, but miraculously recovers when invited to a party. But it's okay. I actually wanted to find an opportunity to observe her movements, so on Friday evening, I arrived on time for Jiangyu's birthday party. The party was held in a private club's VIP room, with Jiangyu naturally being the undisputed center of attention. Surrounded by everyone, Mokur stood right beside him. Clearly dressed up for the occasion with light makeup and wearing a Chanel suit, I narrowed my eyes slightly. That dress was mine. I had originally planned to wear this dress today, but couldn't find it in my closet. Even the housekeeper said she hadn't seen it, so I had to grab another set at the last minute. Never thought I'd see it on Mokur. The Jiang family is a prominent household. Jiangyu's birthday banquet had networking undertones, with people from the business world constantly coming to toast the future young master. After toasting, they would glance at Mokur beside Jiangyu, and Mokur would also greet them with a smile. I've long heard of Miss Song's excellence, and seeing her today truly lives up to her reputation. Our company has always been interested in collaborating with President Song, if possible. We hope Miss Song could put in a good word for us. This is the gift I prepared for Mrs. Song. Mokur smiled broadly, indicating she would deliver both the message and the gift, but before she could take the gift box, a hand reached out from the side and snatched it first. That hand was, of course, mine. Taking the gift box, I smiled and nodded in thanks to the giver. My mother loves this brand of face cream the most. I'll thank you on her behalf first. The guests froze, sizing me up before hesitantly asking, you are, Song Euro. I extended my hand gracefully to shake hands and greet the other person. The guests were completely baffled. And this young lady is. Everyone's gaze fell upon Mokur. Obviously, apart from our schoolmates, everyone else had mistaken Mokur for me. After all, I'm the one engaged to Jiangyu, and the one who should be standing beside him at today's birthday banquet is me. Clearly, Mokur has taken what doesn't belong to her. Before Mokur could introduce herself, I cut in, Uncle. You came to celebrate Jiangyu's birthday and likely wanted to send a gift to the Song family through me. Now that both purposes are accomplished, why bother about who anyone else is? As soon as I finished speaking, Mokure's face instantly turned pale. The guest was also tactful. After all, he had favors to ask of my family, so he immediately chimed in, Miss Song is absolutely right. I'm terribly sorry for mistaking you earlier, with such clear and eloquent speech. Miss Song is truly a lady of noble upbringing. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mokure so angry that her eyes turned red. She turned her head and ran out the door. That pitiful look was truly heartbreaking. I noticed Jiang Yu's expression filled with concern, clearly about to follow her. I grabbed him. Fiancé, where are you going? Jiang Yu angrily pushed my hand away. San Euro, is this really necessary? Mokure is also part of your family, since you hadn't arrived yet. She was just helping to receive gifts. Why must you make sarcastic remarks about her in front of so many strangers? I sneered. That's right, helping to receive gifts for me. Next, will she be helping to stand by your side, helping to cut the cake with you, and maybe even helping to marry you in my place? Jiang Yu frowned deeply. Euro, I always thought you were a generous and graceful girl. How could you become like this? With that, he left me behind and chased after her alone. Everyone turned to look at me. They all saw how the Jiang family's crown prince had just abandoned his fiancée to chase after Mokure. Mokure, she must be feeling pretty smug, right? It's fine, let her enjoy her moment for a few days. After all, just moments ago, I had already grasped the clues I wanted to know. 8. That night, I received a text message from Mokure. Inside was a photo of Jiang Yu lying on the bed, clothes half removed. I slightly closed. He's with you. But the one he truly loves is me. San Euro, you still lost. I looked at my phone and let out a mocking laugh. Do you know how to truly crush someone's spirit? It's when they think they're just one step away from success, you kick them straight down from the clouds. So I opened WeChat and posted a moment's update visible only to Jiang Yu. The content was a large bouquet of roses, captioned with, "Thank you for the flowers, I love them." After posting this update, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb mode and fell straight asleep. The next day was a weekend. When I woke up, there were over a dozen missed calls on my phone, all from Jiang Yu. Opening WeChat, Jiang Yu had already sent several screens worth of messages. San Euro, who sent you those flowers? You're my fiancé. Yet you're still being ambiguous with other men outside. What would your parents think if they knew? How ridiculous. Jiang Yu seems to eternally lack the capacity for self-reflection, strict with others, lenient with himself. From this perspective, he and Mokure are truly well matched, but now, he's finally experiencing this stinging pain too. This is my reasoning. No matter how many times I tell Jiang Yu to cancel the engagement, he'll only think I'm being petulant. But when there's a possibility I might fall for someone else, that's when he'll truly panic. When you're about to lose something, that thing suddenly becomes extraordinarily precious. Sure enough, after these few venting words, Jiang Yu quickly began to make amends. I admit it was wrong of me to leave you at the birthday banquet, but there were reasons for it. You should understand me. Euro, you'll never meet anyone who treats you better than I do. I deliberately didn't reply to these messages, intending to create a sense of crisis for Jiang Yu. That night, Jiang Yu waited outside my house holding roses the entire time. He even repeatedly questioned my housekeeper. Has any other guy come looking for Euro recently? I waited until the perfect moment before finally letting him in. He waited outside the door for over 2 hours. Normally, he would have stormed off long ago, but this time, Jiang Yu showed no trace of impatience on his face, even feeling a hint of relief when I finally let him in. You still can't let go of me, right? He handed the bouquet of roses into my arms. Endless coldness welled up in my heart, yet a smile hung on my lips. Of course, the joy of regaining what was lost filled Jiang Yu's heart, and he began repeatedly confirming every detail of the engagement ceremony with me. Meanwhile, to compete with that love rival, Jiang Yu forced me to take photos of the roses he gave me, along with the rings on both our hands, pressuring me to post another WeChat Moments update. I pretended to be reluctant. Oh, everyone will naturally find out at the engagement ceremony anyway. The more unwilling I appeared, the more insistent Jiang Yu became. Not everyone will attend the engagement ceremony. You must post this WeChat Moments update. And so, seemingly coerced by Jiang Yu, I posted this official relationship announcement on WeChat Moments. Very well, everything is within my expectations. Dear Mokure, what kind of mood are you in when you see this moment? If you want to take action, please do so as soon as possible. After all, the plan I've been weaving for so long is about to come to fruition. That night, After Jiang Yu left, I made 3 phone calls. The first was to Su Xiaoran. I'd been frequently meeting her for coffee lately, and we'd become quite close friends. She sounded drowsy when answering, as if she was about to sleep. What do you want? Nothing, just thought I should let you know since I stole your picture. Yes. That picture I posted on Moments for Jiang Yu to see. The roses in it were actually sent by Su Xiaoran's boyfriend Ji Zhao. Su Xiaoran and I were eating out at the time. Ji Zhao had somehow offended her, but since he was out of town and couldn't apologize in person, he sent flowers instead to make amends. After hearing the whole story, Su Xiaoran was practically dying of laughter at Jiang Yu's antics, but she quickly composed herself. By provoking Mo Kuo like this, she might retaliate with extreme measures. Are you prepared for that? It's no wonder Su Xiaoran was concerned. According to her, those who are reborn defy the will of heaven, making them less likely to be favored by good fortune. But I just smiled and said, of course. After ending the conversation with Su Xiaoran, I made another call to my best friend Tang Xian. How's the progress on that matter I asked you to handle this morning? Half an hour later, I hung up the phone call with Tang Xian. Raising my hand to open Mo Kuo's chat window, I stared at her profile picture. In this selfie, Mo Kuo appeared so fragile, innocent, and charmingly pure, yet no one could imagine what kind of demon was hidden beneath this facade. I have many ways to make this demon die without a sound, but that's not enough. I want her exposed in broad daylight for all to see, then reduced to ashes, never to be reborn. 9. The days that followed seemed peaceful and beautiful. All arrangements for Jiang Yu and my engagement were finalized, the guest list was drawn up, and invitations were sent out. Since the Jiang family had corporate promotional tasks recently, they even arranged a live broadcast for the engagement banquet, leveraging the buzz around the Jiangsong Alliance to promote their company's upcoming new product. Theoretically speaking, it was quite unethical for the Jiang family to exploit our marriage for corporate advertising by using public resources for private gain. My parents weren't happy about it either, but I gently persuaded them. Live streaming allows more people to witness this engagement ceremony. It's a good thing. That's right, the more viewers, the happier I am. Soon, the day of the engagement banquet arrived. With 3 hours left until the ceremony, I finished my makeup and was ready to change into my gown before being picked up by the driver to head to the venue. I asked the nanny, "Where's the evening gown?" The nanny handed me a glass of water. "It's downstairs, I'll go get it now." "Have some water first, miss." 10 minutes later, the nanny pushed open the door. The room was completely silent. I lay on the ground with my eyes tightly shut, a fallen glass beside my hand, half its water drunk, the other half spilled on the floor. The nanny approached, tried nudging me, and called my name. I showed no response, clearly in a deep coma. The nanny let out a long sigh, picked up her phone, and sent a text message. Moments later, the bedroom door was pushed open again, and the person who entered was Mo Kuo. She nudged me with the tip of her shoe and said coldly, "Song Euro, so you've come to this." Then, Mo Kuo took out an envelope filled with money from her bag and shoved it to the nanny. "Leave immediately. No matter who asks you later, just say you know nothing." The nanny looked nervous. "Miss Kuo, what are you going to do?" "None of your business," Mo Kuo said coldly. The nanny still couldn't rest easy. "Please don't do anything too extreme, or I'll be implicated too. Can you stop the nonsense?" Mo Kuo snapped irritably. "Your son is still waiting for you at the hospital." The nanny didn't dare say anything more and hurried away with the money. Only Mo Kuo and I remained in the room. She calmly removed the jewelry from me and adorned herself with it, then headed to the dressing room where she found the engagement dress I had prepared. "Sis, you know what? I've always been jealous of you. We're children of the same pair of sisters, yet you live in a grand villa while I'm stuck in a rundown apartment building. You're about to marry into a wealthy family. Everyone calls you Mrs. Jiang, while I'm stuck with a bunch of small-time thugs. This isn't fair," Mo Kuo said while leisurely changing her clothes. After changing, she waited a moment longer until the roar of motorcycles sounded below, and a group of thuggish-looking men appeared downstairs. Mo Kuo opened the door for them and briefly instructed, "Follow the plan, strip off their clothes, take photos, and wait for my message. Once you receive it, send the photos to me." 10. Mo Kuo left. Several tall men surrounded me. After waiting for over 10 minutes, the leader of the thugs, probably thinking the time was right, lit a cigarette and pointed at me. "Strip her naked." Immediately, a man approached me. However, the moment he approached me, I suddenly snapped my eyes wide open. kicking him square in the groin. I staggered back amidst his ear-splitting scream. The men instantly sensed something amiss, but before they could flank me, two figures emerged from behind the screen in my room. I adore the Song family's interior style, Ji Zhao remarked wistfully. Let's decorate our future home like this after we're married, shall we? Su Xiaoran snorted coldly. Who said anything about marrying you? I was speechless. Can you two help me solve this crisis first before showing off your love? Before my words even finished, Ji Zhao had already sprung into action. He swiftly darted in front of a man and grabbed him by the collar. The man roared, "Where did this little brat come from?" Ji Zhao narrowed his eyes, clearly displeased. Disrespecting elders, I don't like that. With that, he single-handedly lifted the man and slammed him onto a nearby cabinet. The other two men exchanged glances, drew spring knives from their coats, and charged at Ji Zhao from both sides. Ji Zhao sighed. Fighting in ancient times was more interesting. Modern kids don't have any martial arts skills at all. With that, he disarmed both men barehanded, kicking one into the restroom and hurling the other straight out the second-floor window. The last remaining gang leader was utterly terrified. Instinctively, he knew he couldn't fight Ji Zhao. This young man's movements clearly weren't those of a normal person, so he set his sights on Su Xiaoran standing not far away. Su Xiaoran had the typical appearance of a top student good girl, white shirt, white skirt, looking every bit the fragile model student. Ji Zhao's voice immediately distorted, "Don't touch her." It was too late. The gang leader had already lunged at Su Xiaoran, the sharp switchblade about to press against her neck. Su Xiaoran calmly glanced at the thug, and in the next second, this model student raised the object in her hand, a brick. It smashed directly onto the thug's head. "I told you not to mess with her." Ji Zhao stood aside, sighing helplessly with his hands in his pockets. She doesn't know her own strength. The thug collapsed to the ground, bleeding from all 7 orifices. Su Xiaoran took out his phone and handed it to me. "Everything unfolded pretty much as you predicted." I smiled faintly. Just as Su Xiaoran said, everything went according to my plan. As early as Jiang Yu's birthday banquet, I had already suspected that our family's nanny had been bribed by Mo Cour. The reason was simple. The Chanel suit Mo Cour wore that day, apart from myself, only the nanny knew where it was kept. So I began quietly observing the nanny afterward and indeed discovered she was privately contacting Mo Cour. After confirming this suspicion, I became extremely wary of the nanny's every word and action, never truly consuming any food or drink she handed me. I secretly took the nanny's phone when she wasn't paying attention. Sure enough, under my constant provocation, Mo Cour decided to make her move on me today, so I contacted Su Xiaoran and Ji Zhao in advance, asking them to set up an ambush at my place. "This phone must be the one you used to contact Mo Cour, right?" I said to the gang leader. He was lying on the ground, pinned under Ji Zhao's foot. He raised his head and glared at me angrily without saying a word. "Mo Cour asked you to take nude photos of me, send them to her, and then she would publicly reveal them at the engagement ceremony. Am I right?" The gang leader still remained silent. "Resisting now is pointless. You trespassed into my home, drugged me, and intended to cause bodily harm. All of this is solid evidence. If you don't want to go to jail, then do as I say." I held the phone up to the gang leader's face. "Unlock your phone." The gang leader turned his head away, ignoring me. "Fingerprints should work too." Ji Zhao attempted to grab the gang leader's hand. However, the gangster did something no one expected. He stuck his thumb in his mouth and bit down hard, making it bleed profusely. In short, he wouldn't reveal the password, and he destroyed the fingerprint that could unlock the phone. "Don't even think about impersonating me to contact Cour," he shouted, his voice laced with menace and a hint of smugness. I lowered my gaze to study him. After a moment, I smiled faintly. "So that's how it is. You weren't bribed, you genuinely care for her." The gang leader, having had his feelings exposed, turned his head away to avoid my gaze. I smiled. "So that's how it is." These troublemakers were all quite young, and in their eyes, Mo Cour must have seemed like a pure, unblemished jasmine flower. Even if this jasmine flower made them commit heinous acts, it must have been because she was wronged first and had no other choice. In that case, this should be easy to handle. I took out my phone and pulled up the recording I had just made. Mo Cour's voice rang out clearly. "You're about to marry into wealth. Everyone calls you Mrs. Jiang, and me, I'm surrounded by a bunch of lowlifes. If my future means marrying such low-quality men, I'd rather die." The voice was cold and merciless, yet unmistakably Mo Cour's. The gang leader's body jerked violently. He raised his head and stared fixedly at my phone, his eyes bloodshot. "Got it, you like her so much. But she's never thought highly of you, you're just a stepping stone to be used. Once she steps over you to latch onto the Jiang family's young master, she'll toss you aside. Now think again, do you want to cooperate with me or not? 11. Mokur stood in the hall, watching the lavishly dressed guests. She swallowed hard, feeling inexplicably nervous. She took out her phone and sent a message to Shunzi. Is the video recorded? Send it over. Soon, a file was sent over. Mokur opened it but found it couldn't play properly. What's going on? It won't open. Shunzi's reply came quickly. It won't open on the phone. But aren't you going to connect to the big screen? The big screen can play it. A hint of unease rose in Mokur's heart, but she quickly suppressed this worry by force. Shunzi was the leader of these small-time hoodlums and also her biggest admirer. She had always promised Shunzi that once she scammed money from these rich people, she would marry him. So Shunzi obeyed her every word. If Shunzi says there's no problem, then there's no problem. So Mokur quietly approached the control panel. At this moment, the large screen was displaying some old photos of Jiang Yu and Song Yuro. With no one at the computer controlling the system, Mokur sat down and imported a video from her phone. Soon, all the guests would see Song Yuro's indecent video. Moreover, this engagement banquet was being live-streamed, meaning countless people would witness this scene. The Jiang family, being such a status-conscious clan, would never allow Song Yuro to set foot in their household again. Mokur imported the video and fiercely pressed the play button. 12. In the center of the auditorium, everyone turned their heads, drawn by the video that suddenly began playing on the large screen. With a frenzied smile, Mokur also turned her gaze toward the large screen. In the next second, her smile froze on her face. The video scene was set in a coffee shop. Jiang Yu and Song Yuro were originally talking when suddenly a disheveled girl rushed in. She threw a cup of coffee on Song Yuro, then collapsed into Jiang Yu's arms. Jiang Yu tried to protect the girl and even got into an argument with Song Yuro. The guests were already whispering among themselves, "Oh my god, what's going on here? Who is this woman? She seems mentally unstable. Why is Jiang Yu still protecting her? Could this girl be the other woman?" Soon, a customer noticed Mokur sitting by the computer. "Ah, isn't that the girl from the video?" Yes, that's her. What does this mean? She came here to play this kind of video. Is she trying to steal the groom?" Before Mokur could leave, Jiang Yu rushed forward and grabbed her. "Mokur, what are you doing?" Jiang Yu growled in a low voice. "Did you come here to ruin my engagement party on purpose?" Mokur's lips trembled. "Impossible. The video playing should have been the one Shunzi sent. It's not me. Please let me explain." Mokur didn't know what to do either, so she hastily grabbed her phone. "Someone sent me this video. Perhaps too flustered to find a scapegoat, or perhaps wanting to ask what was going on. In any case, Mokur made a call to Shunzi. The familiar ringtone sounded from behind. Mokur turned around abruptly, dressed in evening attire. I stood not far behind her, raising the object in my hand with a flourish. It was Shunzi's phone. The next second, I stepped onto the stage, took the microphone, and said, "Hello everyone, thank you all for attending my wedding. I believe you've just seen the video played by my cousin Mokur. Clearly, this three-way relationship is a bit too crowded, making me seriously reconsider whether this engagement should proceed." Jiang Yu shouted, "Song Yuro, what are you doing? How many times have I told you? I only pity Mokur." I smiled slightly. "Oh, then next, I also have a video I'd like to play." I connected my phone to the large screen. Then, heavy breathing sounds echoed through the auditorium. In the scene, Mokur sits on the hospital bed, raising her teary eyes to Jiang Yu. "Please, can you give me some redemption?" Jiang Yu remained silent, closing his eyes as Mokur leaned in and kissed his lips, as if some boundary had suddenly been broken. Jiang Yu abruptly pulled Mokur into a deeper kiss. The video clearly captures the sound of their rapid, heavy breathing. As the playback ended, the auditorium fell as silent as a graveyard. Jiang Yu turned deathly pale. Mokur has mental illness. I was just assisting with the treatment." Before he could finish, Mokur jumped up. "No, I don't." Mokur's strategy was clear. She merely feigned illness at my home, relying on others' sympathy to survive. But today, in front of so many people, especially with the live broadcast, she absolutely couldn't admit to having a mental illness. Otherwise, not only would the Jiang family never allow Jiang Yu to marry a mentally ill wife, but her future education and job prospects would also be affected. Mokur frantically pulled out her medical report from her bag. "Jiang Yu, look, everything about me is normal." "That's great. Someone interrupted her. Mokur looked up in shock and stared at me. Holding the microphone, I smiled calmly and repeated, "That's great, I'm so glad you're completely normal, otherwise I'd really be afraid you might escape criminal responsibility under the guise of mental illness." The next second, as if to confirm my words, the police burst through the door. 2 female officers stepped forward, flanking Mokur on either side, and escorted her away. In the corner, my already shocked parents were utterly dumbfounded upon witnessing this scene. What's going on here? I looked to the side and saw Tang Xian, who had entered with the police, walking over to me. "Uncle and Aunt, came to me several months ago, suspecting that Mokur's father's death wasn't as simple as it seemed. My dad looked into it and indeed found many suspicious points. For example, Mokur's father was clearly an experienced driver, yet that day he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, causing him to shatter the windshield upon hitting the bridge pier and be thrown from the car into the river. Moreover, Mokur didn't report her father missing for 48 hours, making the autopsy significantly more difficult by the time his body was found. However, through subsequent investigations, we still uncovered many clues. We discovered that the thermos in Mokur's father's car contained traces of hallucinogenic drugs, and Mokur had online purchase records for this type of drug several months before her father's accident. Mom's legs gave way, but luckily Dad caught her, the one we adopted and brought home. "Yes, he's a demon," I whispered. "Uncle repeatedly refused our family's financial support, living a frugal life with Mokur. He thought he was teaching her self-respect and independence, unaware that Mokur had long considered him an obstacle." Jiangyu, standing nearby, turned pale. He stepped forward, trembling, and said, "I was blind before, too kind-hearted." Without looking at him, I coldly replied, "Jiangyu, you were never blind. You're not kind-hearted, you're lustful, greedy, foolish, and have no principles." I took my parents and Tang Xian by the hand and walked away without turning back. "Don't come looking for me again, you're simply not worthy of me." 13. Epilogue. Later, the court's verdict on Mokur's patricide case caused a huge uproar. The Jiang family's reputation was completely ruined during that livestream. Jiangyu, once the illustrious heir of the Jiang group, became a universally despised scumbag and laughingstock. The Jiang family's business plummeted, and Jiangyu gradually developed mental issues. In the end, his parents took him and left the city. My academic journey progressed smoothly afterward, but the only odd thing was that I never saw Su Xiaoran and Ji Zhao again. I messaged the WeChat account named Time Traveler, but Su Xiaoran rarely replied, only occasionally sending me a voice message. "We have new work." Deep down, I had a vague idea of what their work entailed. After all, Su Xiaoran once created a small group chat with me and Ji Zhao, and I noticed Ji Zhao's WeChat ID was Soul Chaser. Our trio's group chat was named Work Group 018, perhaps I was their client number 018. What I don't understand is that they provided me with so much assistance without charging me a single penny. What exactly is the compensation for their work? In the spring of the following year, many of my questions were finally answered. Su Xiaoran sent me a text message. The content was just 4 words. "Want to eat grilled meat?" 14. Large slices of fatty beef sprinkled with scallions sizzle on the copper grill, releasing an aromatic oil fragrance. Surrounding them are garlic-buttered mushrooms arranged like small bowls around the grill's edge, already exuding juices that bubble with a boiling sound. Su Xiaoran picked up a piece of kimchi and chewed, finally finished the busy work. Even Spring Festival wasn't peaceful. Across the table, Ji Zhao was using scissors to cut open a molten lava steak with cheese filling. "You've worked hard, dear, eat more meat." Su Xiaoran rolled her eyes. "Who's your dear? Get lost." She picked up a piece of grilled fatty beef and put it on my plate. "What do you know about the two of us?" I kept my head down, focusing on eating and playing dumb. What, about you two? I know you're from Peking University, but I don't think Ji Senior ever mentioned which school he's from." Su Xiaoran waved her hand. "No need to pretend, Junior, I know you're smart, just say what you know. Since it's come to this, I can't keep playing dumb. Senior Ji is a soul chaser. His ability should be sealing spirits. You're a time reverser, your ability is time regression. I must have been revived thanks to you two saving me." Su Xiaoran chewed on the fatty beef without speaking. Silence essentially meant confirmation. I should have been dead already. That river blooming with red lotuses was the river Styx, with one of you at the bridgehead and the other on the boat. At the bridgehead stands Senior Ji, responsible for guiding the souls back across the bridge. On the boat is Senior Su, You ferry those souls aboard and sail against the current. Su Xiaoran listened silently until I finished, then took a sip of cola. Everything you said is correct, but there's one problem. For souls we've saved, we quietly provide assistance so they can survive after rebirth, but theoretically, these souls shouldn't recognize us. After returning to the living world, their memories of the river Styx are automatically erased. The two of them stared at me with piercing eyes. So, why do you remember me? How should I know? Their eyes didn't blink at all. Me, no, I'm really not playing dumb this time. I raised my hands in surrender. I'm just an ordinary mortal who had a savior complex in my past life and still gets pushed around in this one. Could you gods please stop asking me about your divine affairs? Su Xiaoran glanced at Ji Zhao. She doesn't seem to be lying. Ji Zhao, she genuinely doesn't know. Forget it, it's not important. Su Xiaoran waved her hand. The bottom line is, we saved you, and most importantly, the most important thing is that I still have this memory. I said, no. Su Xiaoran shook her head. The most important thing is, you're still a rich woman. Me, I've decided to start a company. The underworld budget won't get approved, so I plan to find a sponsor in the human world. Su Xiaoran said, you seem like a perfect fit. Me, you guys eat first. I'll take my leave. 15. Song Yuro left. Ji Zhao grilled meat while leisurely teasing Su Xiaoran. Well, failed to trick her. Su Xiaoran said calmly, don't worry, she'll come back. Those bound by fate will ultimately return to the cycle of cause and effect. Sure enough, 3 minutes later, Song Yuro lifted the curtain and sat back down again. I didn't say I've agreed to you yet, she said sternly. I'm just asking, what exactly is your business? If I invest, can I get my money back? 1 month later, in the alley, Song Yuro looked at the tiny storefront with utter disdain. A tacky sign was placed at the entrance, reading wishing shop, 10 yen per try. I must be crazy, Song Yuro muttered. I can't believe I'm investing in this thing. Su Xiaoran stood beside her and said kindly, it's alright, that little investment is just a drop in the bucket for you. What do you mean a drop in the bucket? Song Yuro exclaimed in frustration. Are you saying that for just 10 yuan? You'll help someone fulfill a wish. Are the abilities of you time turners and soul chasers really that cheap? What are you talking about? Su Xiaoran said, baffled. The 10 yuan is just the price for making a wish. It means the guest can write their wish on a slip of paper for me. As for actually fulfilling the wish, that's a separate fee. By the way, let me introduce me, the shop manager, Ji Zhao, assistant manager. Song Yuro sneered. A general without an army, huh? You don't even have a single employee. Su Xiaoran pointed at Song Yuro. You, staff member. Song Yuro, wait, explain this clearly. Aren't I the investor? Why did I suddenly become a shop assistant? Following behind Jiang Yu was my best friend Tang Xian. The moment she saw Jiang Yu in this state, she couldn't contain her anger. Fine, I'm leaving. Consider this investment as good as throwing meat buns to a dog. The influential Miss Song was utterly helpless against Su Xiaoran. Fuming, she turned and stormed off. Just as I stepped out of the shop, I bumped into a pale-faced girl. Excuse me, is this a place where wishes come true? The girl asked timidly. Song Yuro froze for a second, then flashed a warm smile. Yes indeed, please come in. Oh no, I really became a shop assistant. After the girl entered, Song Yuro stood outside the store, wiping the sweat from her head in frustration. But this kind of work, serving deities and witnessing the joys and sorrows of mortal life, doesn't sound too bad after all. Anyway, summer vacation is still long. It's time to welcome new stories. Story 2. Before being pushed off the cliff by Zhou Lin, he told me a secret. All the bullet comments I saw were deliberately fabricated by him for me. It was precisely because I believed the nonsense in those bullet comments that I gave up my fiancé, who was a good match for me in terms of social status, and instead threw myself into Zhou Lin's arms. In the end, he drained my family fortune and pushed me off the cliff. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the wealthy family's dinner party where I had been drugged. The familiar bullet comments appeared again. The female lead, don't you ever go looking for your fiancé, that scumbag is having a wild time with a young model. Why not take a look at Zhou Lin behind you? Although he is just a waiter now, he will become the richest man in the country in the future and spoil you rotten. I turned around and met Zhou Lin's affectionate gaze. In this life, I will make every single bullet comment become his death knell. 1. It was so hot. My body felt as if it was being roasted over a fire. I leaned against the wall and moved forward feebly with my hands and feet. It was not until the familiar bullet comments floated past my eyes that I suddenly woke up. I had actually gone back to the day when I was drugged at the party. Miss Wen, are you okay? A concerned male voice rang in my ear, but it made me tremble all over in fright. I turned my head and met those familiar eyes, gentle, worried, as if filled with endless affection. It was Zhou Lin. In an instant, boundless hatred welled up like magma. I had to use all my strength to restrain the urge to strangle him to death. In my previous life, it was precisely because I believed those bullet comments that I gave up my fiancé, who was a good match for me in terms of social status, and threw myself into the arms of Zhou Lin, who was still a waiter at that time. In the end, he drained my family fortune and pushed me off the cliff. It was not until just before I died that Zhou Lin stepped on my head and looked down at me condescendingly, saying, "Didn't you expect it? Those bullet comments were all deliberately fabricated by me for you to see. Women are so easy to deceive. With just a few bullet comments, you really thought you were the female lead in a novel. You're so stupid, you deserve to be killed by me." He sneered sinisterly and suddenly kicked me off the cliff with a single stomp. All that was left in my ears was the howling wind, and the crisp sound of bones breaking. "Miss Wen, you don't look well. Let me help you to the lounge, okay?" Zhou Lin's voice slithered into my eardrums like a snake hissing, instantly pulling me back to reality. There was carefully feigned concern surging in his eyes, but this time, I could clearly see the calculating look hidden deep within. He was waiting for me to be in a state of delirium and let him have his way with me. "Miss Wen, your body is so hot, how about, let me help you?" His breath brushed against my ear, and his voice was low and slow, as if deliberately trying to awaken the drug's effect in my body. The bullet comments appeared in a timely manner. "Female lead, don't resist, this is fate. Zhou Lin will treat you very well. Believe me, you two are a perfect match. Accept him quickly. Zhou Lin is really good in bed and will definitely make you feel ecstatic." My fingernails dug deep into the palm of my hand. In my previous life, it was these bewitching bullet comments that made me fall into the trap step by step. The heat in my body and the coldness in my heart intertwined, making me shiver all over. But Zhou Lin took this as my invitation for sex and became even bolder. His fingertips gently caressed, moving down along my collarbone, and was about to reach into the neckline of my dress. Just then, I tore off the silver hairpin that held up my coiled hair, and stabbed it hard into his arm. "Ah!" Zhou Lin let out a scream and looked at me in disbelief. I got up and ran towards the main hall of the party, shouting at the top of my lungs, "Call the police, someone is molesting me." 2. While waiting for the police to arrive, Zhou Lin was pinned to the ground by the security guards and could hardly make a sound, but the bullet comments didn't stop for a moment. "Oh my god, is the female lead crazy? This is the future richest man in the country. Your fiancé is having an affair upstairs, but you're hurting the one who truly loves you. Quickly tell the security guards to let him go, otherwise you'll have to give your first night to that scumbag fiancé." Every word and sentence was pushing me to give up my fiancé and offer myself to this waiter whom I didn't know at all. To be fair, Zhou Lin was quite good at bluffing people, but he seemed to have overlooked one thing. Could it be that I could only choose one of the two men? The doctor rushed over in a hurry and gave me an antidote injection. The cold injection pierced my skin, and the surging heat in my body finally subsided. In my previous life, I was bewitched by the bullet comments and gave myself to Zhou Lin under his coaxing, but this time, the will to survive and break the situation made me hold on until now. I lifted my eyes coldly and met Zhou Lin's slightly anxious gaze. Obviously, since the bullet comments hadn't worked yet, he was starting to lose his composure. "I didn't molest her." Zhou Lin finally couldn't help but speak up in defense, his voice tinged with deliberate grievance. "I just saw that Miss Wen wasn't feeling well and came forward to show my concern out of kindness. I didn't expect to be misunderstood." The bullet comments immediately cooperated and flooded the screen. With his looks, does he need to be a molester? It's women who throw themselves at him. The female lead is too sensitive, isn't she? Treating kindness as something worthless. I sneered and gave him a mocking look. Every pervert will defend themselves like this when caught in the act. If you want to explain it to the police. The sound of the police sirens approached from afar, and Zhou Lin's face visibly turned pale, just as the police were about to take him away. "Wait a minute," a clear female voice cut through the commotion. 3. I turned around and saw a girl in a pure white dress walking quickly over. I knew this girl. Her name was Lan. It was she who sponsored Zhou Lin, helping him to come out of the poor mountain village and get admitted to a prestigious university. I heard that when she went to the mountain village to donate supplies, she took a fancy to Zhou Lin at first sight. Since then, she had supported him all the way and cultivated him carefully. She not only covered Zhou Lin's tuition and living expenses but also paved the way for him, giving him the opportunity to mingle in the upper-class social circles. I once asked Zhou Lin what kind of relationship he had with Enlon. Zhou Lin just said casually, "She's my sponsor and has been kind to me." I believed him at that time, but in my previous life, not long after I got together with Zhou Lin, this girl died in a car accident. At that time, I thought it was an accident. Now that I think about it, there's probably more to it than meets the eye. Enlon stood in front of Zhou Lin, like a mother hen protecting her chicks, without any evidence. "Can you just frame an innocent person with just your words?" She turned to look at the police. "I know Zhou Lin, he would never do such a thing. This silly girl was probably just like me in my previous life, whose mind had been bewitched by Zhou Lin's bullet comments." I looked at her angry expression with great interest and slowly took out my phone. "Oh, is that so?" On the phone screen, it clearly showed the scene of Zhou Lin acting inappropriately towards me in the lounge. Originally, I also wanted to find the footage of Zhou Lin drugging me, but unfortunately, he was cautious and managed to avoid the surveillance cameras, so I couldn't find the evidence of him drugging me. And Lon looked at the surveillance footage, her face as white as a sheet, but even so, she still bit her lip, as if she wanted to defend Zhou Lin. Fortunately, the police didn't give her the chance. Zhou Lin was soon taken away, and Enlon followed. But those annoying bullet comments were still not giving up and were making a final struggle. "It's all a misunderstanding. Just a misunderstanding. Female lead, believe us." Zhou Lin just couldn't help himself for a moment. "And that's all because he loves you so much. Are you really going to miss the one who truly loves you for the sake of a cheating man? If you don't believe it, go and take a look at box No. 1 on the upper floor of the banquet hall. Your fiancé probably just finished his affair." I raised an eyebrow. If the bullet comments hadn't mentioned it, I would have almost forgotten. In my previous life, it was in box No. 1 that I witnessed my fiancé's betrayal with my own eyes. From then on, I completely believed the bullet comments and had no more doubts. My fingertips unconsciously dug into my palm, and I lifted the hem of my dress and walked upstairs. This time, I wanted to see just how flawless the plot Zhou Lin had arranged was. 4. The box was in a mess. The messy clothes were scattered all over the floor, and the air was filled with the smell of alcohol and lust intertwined. GMO was holding the woman in his arms and was sound asleep. The bullet comments immediately flooded the screen like crazy. "Look, this is your dear fiancé. Now do you believe that what we said is true? Only Zhou Lin truly loves you. Go and find him quickly." I bit my lower lip so hard that I tasted blood. It was this scene in my previous life that made me completely believe the prophecies in the bullet comments and obey Zhou Lin from then on. But this time, I strode closer and noticed Chi Mo's dilated pupils and the abnormal flush on his face. His fingers were twitching spasmodically around the woman's waist. This look was exactly the same as mine after I relieved the effect of the drug in my previous life. I understood in an instant. It seemed that Chi had also been drugged. Chi woke up with a start. When he saw me, he pushed the woman in his arms away in a panic. He fumbled to wrap the quilt tightly around himself, his voice hoarse. "Chi, you have to believe me. I was drugged." Of course I believed him, because this was a common trick used by Zhou Lin. In my previous life, I was so stupid that I was blinded by anger and didn't notice these details at all. "I know," I said calmly, but my fingernails dug deep into my palm. GMO obviously let out a sigh of relief. But the next second, "Let's cancel our engagement." "What?" He stared at me in disbelief. "I'm the victim, but you did betray me," I sneered. Moreover, memories of my previous life flashed through my mind, how the Chi family had gradually nibbled away at the Wen family's business under the pretext of my faults, and how GMO had watched coldly and even added fuel to the fire. The bullet comments were still flickering nonstop. "Female lead, baby, you've finally seen clearly. A man like GMO is not worth it at all. Only Zhou Lin truly loves you. He has been waiting for you for so long. Do you have the heart to make him wait any longer? Think about it. If you had chosen Zhou Lin just now, how happy you would be now." I clenched my fists. How ironic. In my previous life, I believed these lies and ended up dying a miserable death. In this life, I've seen through the truth. But I still have to step into this trap, because I know only by making Zhou Lin think that his plan has succeeded first can I make him reveal more flaws. I will accompany Zhou Lin to play this game to the end. Chi, GMO still wanted to explain. I simply left, letting him call out behind me. The moment I turned around, a tear rolled down my cheek. It wasn't for GMO, but for myself in my previous life who had been played with and killed. 5. I cancelled my engagement with GMO, this time. The Chi family was in the wrong and had to give up 8 percentage points of the profits as compensation. 8 percentage points. My father was so angry that he smashed the teacup. Is my daughter's marriage only worth that much? I held down his trembling hand and said in a calm voice, I lost my marriage, but I got the money. Isn't that more practical? I think it's quite good. Dad is just feeling sorry for you. My father sighed. Originally, I thought that if you married GMO, in the future he would take over the Chi and Win companies, and you wouldn't have to worry about the rest of your life. But now, it's not only men who can take over the company. I interrupted him and said seriously, Dad, train me to be your successor. It's only when our own company is in the hands of our own family that we can feel at ease. My father's eyes lit up with surprise. Luchi, do you really mean it? I looked straight into his eyes and nodded solemnly. In the past, I didn't want to get involved in company affairs. I thought that as long as I found a capable man, I could live an easy life. My parents also indulged my temper. They said that they named me Luchi because they hoped that I could live happily without any worries, but the lessons of my previous life made me fully understand. No man can truly be my support. Only when I hold the interests firmly in my own hands can I feel at ease. Very good, very good. My father was so excited that his face was glowing. No problem, my dear daughter, I'll arrange for you to join the company tomorrow. I will teach you everything I know and do my best to train you. However, just a few days after I started working in the company, I ran into an unexpected person, the familiar figure, the hypocritical smile, Zhou Lin. He actually managed to sneak into the company so quickly, and he became an intern in the department I was in charge of, along with his appearance. There were also those noisy bullet comments, female lead, look how much Zhou Lin loves you. In order to see you every day, he gave up countless job offers from other companies. Every step he took out of the mountain village was to be worthy of you. How can you have the heart to let down such deep affection? With just a word from you, he would even give his life for you. Give his life. I curled my lips coldly. I don't need him to give me his life, I'll take it myself. Find out how Zhou Lin got out of the police station and how he got into the company. I tapped my fingertips on the table, and a surge of excited fighting spirit welled up in my heart. The secretary soon brought back the news. It was Lan. She not only bailed out Zhou Lin but also stuffed him into the Win Group. The Yin family was also one of the shareholders of the Win Group. Although their shareholding was small and they didn't have much decision-making power, but it was still no problem to stuff an intern in. What's more, with Zhou Lin's background of graduating from a prestigious university and being about to graduate, he did meet the requirements. I suddenly thought of that night's party when Zhou Lin worked as a part-time waiter. This work-study opportunity was probably also given to him by Lan. Otherwise, with the strict management of that banquet hall, they wouldn't have hired any temporary workers at all. For Zhou Lin's great cause of climbing up the social ladder, Lan really gave him everything he wanted. Find a way to invite Lan out to meet, but not in my name, I instructed the secretary. One day later, I met Lan at a coffee shop on the outskirts of the city. She had originally made an appointment with other friends. When she saw that it was me, her delicate little face immediately tensed up, and her expression became stiff. Miss Wen, you went around to invite me out. What do you want to say? Her tone was obviously hostile. I smiled slightly, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. Of course I had to go around. I raised my eyes to observe her expression. After all, I want to talk to you about the bullet comments. I have to be on guard against Zhou Lin, and Lan's body immediately tensed up. What do you mean? Although she didn't answer directly, her vigilant body language had already given me the answer. Sure enough, Zhou Lin also used the trick of bullet comments on Lan. I said with certainty in my tone, if I'm not mistaken, the reason you trust Zhou Lin so much is because of the bullet comments, right? And Lan sat up straight and said seriously, Miss Wen, if you want to hold him accountable for what happened at the dinner party that day, I apologize to you on his behalf, but Zhou Lin really didn't mean to offend. He just wanted to help you and accidentally slipped his hand. You trust him so much. I lowered my eyes and stirred the cooling coffee, shaking my head meaningfully. What did those bullet comments tell you? That you're the female lead and he's the future richest man, that as long as you're willing to support his ambition to rise to the top, he'll spoil you rotten. And Lan's eyes widened in shock. You can see them too. not only can I see them, but in the bullet comments I see, I'm the female lead, how is that possible? And Lan's pupils suddenly contracted. Like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, I guided her gently, you've been with him for so long, don't you really think there's something fishy going on? And Lan fell into a brief moment of contemplation, frowning slightly as if trying hard to digest what I had said, but in just an instant, she regained her defensive expression, as if I were a villain trying to sow discord. So what? She raised her chin, her voice trembling but her back straight. I know him and I trust him. Even without the bullet comments, I will firmly stand by his side. I heard the hidden meaning in her words. Do you mean that you can't see the bullet comments now? And Lan's expression flickered with a moment of panic, and she forced herself to defend. It's none of your business. This girl is really innocent. All her thoughts are written on her face, and she can't hide anything at all. Fortunately, she's so innocent. Which made me confirm one thing. Zhou Lin's bullet comments can only be designated for one person to see at a time, and they can't be transferred casually. When Zhou Lin used them on me, and Lan could no longer see them, I told her, I first saw the bullet comments on the day of the dinner party. After that, haven't you seen the bullet comments again? And Lan pursed her lips and fell into thought. I continued, you don't have to rush to reply to me. I have only one request, don't tell Zhou Lin about our meeting today. It's for your own good. If one day you also find something suspicious about him, you're welcome to come to me again. I stopped at that and got up to leave. After all, I don't know Lan well and can't trust her completely. If she tells Zhou Lin about our conversation, it will undoubtedly bring me trouble. But I can't just watch her be killed by Zhou Lin. Wait a minute. Just before the glass door closed, and Lan suddenly caught up. She seemed to want to say something but cautiously swallowed it back. Finally, she softly promised me, don't worry, I won't tell him. 7. Zhou Lin had a strategy. After joining the company, he didn't rush to get familiar with me. Instead, he silently built up his presence. Every day, he was the first to arrive and the last to leave. In the office late at night, often only his back, working overtime alone, was left. Lonely and stubborn, like a carefully designed silent film, of course. He wasn't completely silent. There were still bullet comments speaking for him. Female lead, look how hard he's working. In order to be worthy of you, he only sleeps for 3 hours a day and works desperately. Since you misunderstood him that night at the dinner party, he's been breathing carefully, afraid of making you angry again. Don't you feel touched by this restrained and patient love? If it were in my previous life, I might have been moved by this performance. Now I just find it ridiculous. Since he's working so hard to attract my attention, I can't let him fail completely. So, one late night while working overtime, I came to Zhou Lin's desk. Why haven't you left yet? Zhou Lin suddenly looked up, looking flattered. His Adam's apple rolled, his eyelashes fluttered slightly, and his expression changed within a few seconds. The bullet comments translated his mental activity for me. Great. Female lead, you finally noticed him. The male lead is pretending to be calm on the surface, but his heart is about to explode. Who would have thought that the future richest man would actually be a pure love warrior? Zhou Lin regarded the bullet comments as his inner monologue. I raised an eyebrow, pulled up a chair, and sat down beside him. I ordered some late-night snacks. Let's eat together. Zhou Lin pretended to be shy and asked tentatively, Miss Wen, aren't you angry anymore? Angry about what? I asked knowingly. At the dinner party that day, I really didn't mean it. If I offended you in any way, I apologize. I'm sorry. Zhou Lin looked extremely nervous, but through those eyes, I could see the certainty in his heart. He was betting that I had already fully believed the bullet comments. After all, the result of the cheating catch last time perfectly proved the correctness of the bullet comments. So, I went along with his intention. I'm the one who should apologize. That day, I was really too impulsive and misunderstood you. My voice was soft and gentle, and my fingertips were restlessly rubbing the edge of the lunchbox. As if feeling embarrassed, I quickly glanced at him and then immediately lowered my head, with a thin layer of redness appearing just right on the tips of my ears. If we don't eat now, the late-night snacks will get cold. Okay, Zhou Lin smiled shyly. And a hint of pride flashed in his eyes. It had started to rain outside the window at some point. The raindrops meandered down the glass, blurring the light in the office in a hazy and alluring way. The ambiguity gradually spread. The bullet comments began to encourage me to throw myself into his arms. Female lead, look, his eyes are all red. Do you know how hard he's been holding back? As long as you kiss him now, you can have all the tenderness of this future richest man. Even his breathing is trembling. with such a cute reaction. Don't you really want something to happen? They still want to PUA me into kissing him. In their dreams, I lowered my head, letting the flush spread from my cheeks to my neck, looking just like a girl in the first throes of love. But when Zhou Lin reached out to hand me a tissue, I coincidentally tilted my head to avoid his touch. For some plays, stopping just at the right moment is the most alluring. 8. After that late-night snack night, Zhou Lin's offensive obviously escalated. In the elevator lobby in the morning, he would coincidentally run into me. The collar of his white shirt was slightly open, revealing his well-defined collarbone. Some pleasant surprises began to appear on my desk. On Monday, there was a white tulip with morning dew. On Wednesday, it was replaced with a handwritten note and macarons. On Friday, there was a concert ticket under the keyboard. Each gift hit exactly the right spot of my preferences. Obviously he had done his homework. The most wonderful thing was the way he looked at me. When we met in the corridor, those peach blossom eyes would light up first, and then he would restrain himself and lower his eyelashes, suppressing the surging feelings. During the lunch break, through the glass curtain wall, I could always catch the moment when he hurriedly averted his gaze. All these things made me couldn't help but sigh at his excellent acting skills. Of course, I also, as he wished, pretended to be heart-fluttering. In this life, the process of him courting me is much more difficult than in the previous life, but Zhou Lin has been persistent. I think there are probably 2 reasons for this. First, my family is wealthy enough. Among the wealthy families in this city, I'm one of the few only daughters, which makes it convenient for him to take over all my family's wealth. Second, I speculate that the target of his bullet comments can't be changed casually, and he can only designate one person at a time. Otherwise, he would definitely use multiple strategies and court several wealthy girls at once. We still worked overtime until late at night. I was really seriously learning about the company's affairs and made rapid progress in a short period of time. As for Zhou Lin, besides working overtime, I'm afraid he thought more about how to win me over. Gradually, he began to send me home late at night on the pretext of safety. The atmosphere between the two of us became subtle after each journey together. Finally, on this night, after he, acting as the driver, sent me to my doorstep, he suddenly leaned over and his fingers tentatively covered the back of my hand. But we encountered an uninvited guest. What are you two doing? GMO walked out from the shadows of the plane trees. His black coat was stained with night dew, and he was holding a half-extinguished cigarette in his hand. The light of the street lamp poured down from above his head, outlining his tightly pursed lips sharply. Why are you here? I was a bit surprised. After the engagement was called off, I hadn't contacted Chimo again, but it seemed that he was specifically waiting for me. I'm waiting for my fiancé to get off work. Is there a problem? Chimo said matter-of-factly. Have you lost your memory? I said with a laugh. We've already broken off the engagement. It's been so long. How long are you going to keep making a fuss? GMO irritably loosened his tie. I told you, I was drugged that time. Besides, among the men in our circle, which one isn't chased by women, who can stay pure? Is it really worth it just for such a trivial matter? He suddenly softened his tone and reached out to touch my face. Stop making trouble. The compensation has been given by my father, and I've also been scolded by the old man. You should come back. These days, I've missed you a lot. I was so angry that I laughed and was about to retort when Zhou Lin had already stepped in front of me. How can you say such things? If you don't cherish her, there will naturally be someone who regards her as a treasure. Who cares about a man like you who's already tainted? GMO slowly turned his head. His gaze swept over Zhou Lin's whole body as if sizing up a commodity. Finally, it fixed on that inexpensive suit, and a cold snort escaped from his nostrils. Wen Luqi, is this your new lover? Something that can't be brought to the public eye. I have to say, this sentence made me feel good to hear. Zhou Lin's face instantly turned pale, and his knuckles turned blue from gripping tightly. Yes, my background isn't as prominent as young Master Chi's, but if Luqi were my fiancé, I'd rather break my hands and feet than let her suffer such grievances. The bullet comments joined in the commotion. Wow. The male lead's boyfriend power is off the charts. This kind of man is the one worth relying on. Female lead, get together with the male lead quickly. If you miss him, there won't be such a good man again. I just found it ridiculous. In fact, when I first came back through time, I still had some vague hopes for Chimo. Just like in a romantic novel, when the female lead is hurt by one man, it seems that another more excellent man must appear to accompany her like a savior, as if in this way, it can prove that she's worthy of being loved. But the cruel reality tells me, placing hope in men will only bring disappointment again and again. Zhou Lin is bad, and Mo is a scumbag. Neither of them is any good, but at this moment, these two guys are in front of me, competing to show their so-called deep affection. It's really laughable. Enough, I stopped this farce. Mo, it's over between us. The night wind picked up the fallen leaves and swirled them around our feet. I took the initiative to hold Zhou Lin's hand. When I looked up at him, my eyes were filled with tenderness like moonlight, and I said firmly, Zhou Lin's family background may not be comparable to the Qi family's, but don't bully a young man because he's poor. I believe he won't be an ordinary person forever. Zhou Lin's pupils suddenly contracted, and his Adam's apple rolled as he swallowed. His expression at this moment was like that of a gambler finally waiting for the moment when the dice cup was opened. That kind of shudder mixed with ecstasy and greed was transmitted from his fingertips all the way to my palm. Lu Qi, do you really think so? I smiled and looked at him. Of course, his fingers trembled, and he suddenly hugged me into his arms. I could smell the remaining cheap perfume on his suit, which fermented with the excitement of success in the night wind. Mo sneered and turned to leave. After taking 3 steps, he turned back and threw down a sentence. You'll regret being with such a poor man. He was right. In my previous life, when I was pushed off the cliff by Zhou Lin, I really regretted it to the core, but now, I just hugged Zhou Lin back even more tightly and said firmly, no, I believe choosing him is the most correct decision I've ever made in my life. 9. Zhou Lin and I got together just like that. He perfectly replicated the routine from my previous life. On the surface, he silently gave to me without asking for anything in return. In reality, he used the bullet comments to exaggerate it greatly. Oh my god, the male lead didn't sleep all night just to grab a limited edition doll for the female lead. See the blisters on his hand from the burn. That's from learning to make creme brulee for the female lead. Just now, when the female lead coughed, he immediately took off his coat. He was shivering from the cold but still said he wasn't cold. What a familiar formula. He put on a show of 3 parts, and the bullet comments exaggerated it into 12 parts of deep affection. When he secretly met with Lan in private, the bullet comments would pop up saying preparing a surprise. Even his perfunctory attitude when he stood me up could be beautified as running all over the city to buy a gift for the female lead. In my previous life, he wove a Truman's World for me with the bullet comments, making me live in a carefully designed script and thinking that I had glimpsed the secret of fate. Those floating words were like transparent silk threads, wrapping around my judgment layer by layer until I could no longer see the truth clearly. And in this life, honey, I want to take you to meet my good friend. Is that okay? I rested my chin in my hand and looked at him, my eyes full of infatuation. I want everyone around me to know how lucky I am to have met such a wonderful boyfriend like you. Zhou Lin's eyes flickered. He knew very well the significance of this invitation. Being able to step into the social circle of the daughter of the Wen family meant being officially included in the social map of the top celebrities. This was much higher than the social circle that Lan, the daughter of an upstart, could provide. Okay, I'll leave it to you to arrange. Zhou Lin pretended to be doting and ruffled my hair. I leaned into his arms taking the opportunity, hiding the sneer at the corner of my mouth. Zhou Lin still didn't know. The friend I was going to take him to meet was exactly his old acquaintance, Lan. 10. My friend has always heard me talk about how great my boyfriend is and has urged me many times to let her meet him in person. I took Zhou Lin's arm and walked through the carved archway of the restaurant. Before entering the private room, I suddenly leaned close to his ear and laughed softly. Come to think of it, you two already know each other. To give her a surprise, I deliberately didn't tell her that my boyfriend is you. Hearing this, Zhou Lin's body suddenly tensed up. Which friend are you talking about? As soon as the words fell, as if he had a premonition, he slowly turned his head. He was directly facing Lan's pale face. The wine glass in her hand clattered to the ground, her pupils constricted violently, and her lips trembled, but no sound came out. Look, this is the friend I mentioned. I happily shook Zhou Lin's stiff arm. Lan, you're familiar with her, right? The one who helped you out that day at the banquet. Zhou Lin's Adam's apple rolled a few times, and the corner of his mouth twitched into a twisted arc. You too, have you been in touch all this time? His fingertips oozed cold sweat in my palm, and his probing gaze swept back and forth between Lan and me, as if testing the possibility of being exposed. Zhou Lin's panic at this moment confirmed my suspicion. His special ability has limitations. He can only fabricate those bullet comments to deceive us. But he can't truly have the ability to see everything and spy on our whereabouts, otherwise, he wouldn't have reached the door of the private room without knowing that the person inside was Enlon. Actually, we weren't familiar before. I tilted my head and showed an innocent smile. Later, I heard that Enlon was your sponsor, and as we talked, we became close friends. I turned my head and affectionately took Enlan's cold hand. I also have to thank you for sponsoring Zhou Lin all those years. That's how I was able to meet such a wonderful boyfriend. Enlon stared fixedly at Zhou Lin, her lips lost all color, as if all the blood in her body had been drained, but she still asked persistently, "She's your girlfriend, so who am I?" I promptly changed my expression and showed a look of surprised and bewildered. "What do you mean? Are you also Zhou Lin's girlfriend?" Facing such a tense situation, Zhou Lin's expression was only flustered for a moment before quickly returning to normal. "Enlon, I think you've misunderstood," he said in a slightly apologetic tone. "You sponsored me for 6 years and helped me out of the mountain village. I'm very grateful, but I don't like you. If I caused you any misunderstandings before, I'm sorry." "No, you didn't say that before." Tears welled up in Enlan's eyes. "You clearly said before that." Enough, perhaps afraid that his lies would be exposed. Zhou Lin interrupted Enlan's words in a hurry and turned to me, saying, "Luqi, there are some misunderstandings between Miss Enlon and me. Could you please give me some time so that I can explain it to her alone?" To reassure me, the bullet comments also joined in the defense. "Enlon is just a paranoid. She's morally blackmailing the male lead just because she sponsored him. The male lead feels like he's being tortured every time he meets her. He's just enduring it to repay her kindness. The male lead may be poor, but he has integrity. Once he becomes the richest man, he won't have to be coerced by such a woman anymore. The female lead should trust the male lead and give him some space to deal with it." I suddenly remembered that in my previous life, I had also seen similar bullet comments. At that time, Enlon heard that Zhou Lin and I were dating and came to ask for an explanation. At that time, Zhou Lin only took 20 minutes to make that stubborn girl leave with red eyes. I didn't know how Zhou Lin explained it to her. But after that, Enlon really stopped bothering me. After a while, I got the news that Enlon had died in a car accident on a winding mountain road. According to the timeline of my previous life, Enlon should still be safe now, but looking at her shaky figure at this moment, I suddenly wasn't sure anymore. Perhaps the fangs of the viper would show earlier than in my memory. "Then I'll go back first, you two can talk slowly." I pretended to believe the bullet comments, obediently left, and even thoughtfully closed the door of the private room for them. About an hour later, Zhou Lin came back. There was a smile on his lips, but his eyes were as cold as ice. He reached out and ruffled my hair. "It's all explained. It was all a misunderstanding before. From now on, she won't bother us anymore." "Really?" I looked up at him. "Of course." Zhou Lin leaned down close to me, his breath brushed against my ear, and his voice was as soft as a snake hissing. "Trust me, Luqi." 11. According to the trajectory of my previous life, Enlon died in a car accident a month after she came to the door. I thought that in this life, it should be around the same time, which was enough for me to prepare in advance, but I didn't expect. Just a week later, I saw the report of Enlan's death in a car accident on the news. It was still that section of the winding mountain road, and it was still due to a brake failure, but the time was completely different. That section of the winding mountain road was in the suburbs. Usually, Enlon wouldn't go there. What was the reason that made her drive there alone in both her previous and present lives? The answer was obvious. It was Zhou Lin who asked her to meet at the top of the mountain, saying that he wanted to give her a surprise or an explanation. My heart sank heavily, even though I knew he was the murderer. Without evidence, everything was just empty talk. At this moment, the sound of the door lock turning woke me up. It was Zhou Lin who came back. Today, he invited me to his rental house, saying that he would cook for me and show off his skills. He was holding a paper bag with the logo of an internet-famous cake shop in his hand and smiled calmly. I queued up for 2 hours. He held the cake and smiled as he leaned towards me. "Want to have a taste?" I frowned and turned my face away. Zhou Lin paused for a moment and keenly sensed that my expression wasn't right. "What's wrong? Who made my baby unhappy?" I directly dropped a bombshell. "Did you kill someone outside?" Zhou Lin's pupils suddenly constricted, but he was only flustered for a moment before returning to his usual gentle and considerate appearance. "Luqi," he smiled and shook his head, reaching out to touch my face. "What are you talking nonsense about?" I avoided his touch and pressed on. "You killed Enlon, didn't you?" An expression of just the right amount of shock and hurt appeared on his face. She's my sponsor. I'm too grateful to her to do such a thing. How could I? His voice suddenly choked up, as if he was deeply hurt by the sudden accusation. Who did you hear this from? It's ridiculous. My fingertips trembled as I pointed towards the air, and my lips were pale. But, the bullet comments are never wrong. Hearing this, there was finally a crack in Jolyne's expression. What bullet comments? I haven't told you this. In fact, since the day of the dinner party, I've been able to see a lot of floating words. At first, I thought it was someone's prank. It wasn't until after you were taken away by the police and what the bullet comments said came true that I realized I had misunderstood you. I took a deep breath, as if I couldn't hold back the trembling in my voice. Later, a lot of things happened, all of which proved that the bullet comments were true. They never lie. I took a step back, trembling all over, and my pupils constricted violently. But now, the bullet comments are telling me that you killed Anlan and you caused this car accident. Jolyne's Adam's apple rolled violently 3 times. I could almost see the veins bulging on his forehead as his brain was running at high speed. The next second, the bullet comments in the air suddenly changed. What? The female lead can see the bullet comments we send, but Anlan clearly died in an accident. Did the female lead see it wrong? Jolyne tried to muddle through by manipulating the bullet comments, but I ignored them and showed an even more terrified expression. It's so strange. Before, the font of the bullet comments I saw was black, but now it's actually turned blood red. My voice trembled, as if I had seen something extremely terrifying. The blood red bullet comments say that you deliberately tampered with Anlan's car brakes. It's okay to drive on a flat road, but once you get to the complex winding mountain road, it will be extremely dangerous. After that, you asked Anlan to meet you at the top of the mountain, saying that you wanted to give her a surprise and asked her to go alone. Before I could finish speaking, Jolyne's expression changed from his initial calmness to stiffness, and fine beads of sweat began to break out on his forehead. He tried his best to maintain his surface calmness, but there was an unmaskable look of panic in his eyes. Don't believe these. It must be someone's prank, he said, pretending to be calm, but I seemed to be possessed and continued to murmur the non-existent blood-red bullet comments. The bullet comments also say that the reason you killed Anlan was that you were afraid she would get in the way of you climbing up the social ladder with me. In fact, you and Anlan were lovers. You were afraid that she would expose this to me, so you took drastic measures against her. I looked at him with a terrified expression and disbelief. No wonder Anlan reacted that way in the restaurant last time. It turns out, Jolyne still didn't give up and tried to use the bullet comments to save the situation. How could that be? Jolyne is clearly only in love with the female lead. It's all Anlan's misunderstanding. Jolyne has a very upright character. He definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Whose bullet comments are spreading such rumors? This is really hurting Jolyne's feelings. He only has you in his heart. Jolyne worked hard to fabricate the bullet comments, trying to change my mind, but my performance was as if I couldn't see the bullet comments he fabricated at all. Instead, I continued to talk endlessly about the so-called blood-red bullet comments. The blood-red bullet comments say that all the black bullet comments I saw before were deliberately fabricated by you for me to see. You can control what I see, so as to gain my trust in you. My God, have I been deceived by you all this time? I covered my mouth and said in disbelief, it turns out that the reason Anlan trusted you so much was also because of the bullet comments you tailored for her. As I revealed these bloody truths one by one, I finally broke through Jolyne's psychological defense. His originally tense body began to tremble, and all the color drained from his face. How could this be? Where did these blood-red bullet comments come from? Is the system malfunctioning? He was so anxious that he accidentally mixed up the words calling the system with the fabricated bullet comments. So, the bullet comments in front of me refreshed like crazy. System, what's going on? When Lucci doesn't seem to be able to see the bullet comments I sent with my brainwaves anymore. The bullet comments she's seeing now are blood red. Is the system out of order? When I bound Anlan before, this kind of situation never occurred. I stared fixedly at these bullet comments he accidentally sent, filled with disgust, but it wasn't enough. He hadn't completely broken down yet. I suddenly let out a scream and stepped back, as if I saw extremely shocking bullet comments. So, you approached me from the beginning just to kill me and get my inheritance. Jolyne's body shuddered violently. No, how could I? His defense was pale and weak, and even his voice was distorted. The blood-red bullet comments told me everything. I mentioned the name of a cliff abroad, which was exactly the place where he pushed me off the cliff in my previous life. You've even chosen the location, haven't you? After we get married and my father hands over the company to you, you'll take me there and make it look like an accidental fall off the cliff. Zhou Lin's breath suddenly stopped. He stared fixedly at me. The face that always wore a gentle smile now showed a ferocious expression without any disguise for the first time. How could you possibly know? How could other bullet comments know? I haven't even taken any action yet. I sensed the danger and turned to run, but Zhou Lin grabbed me back, his palm clasped around my neck like a vice, with such great force that it almost crushed my bones. Since you already know everything, I can't let you live anymore. He no longer cared about pretending. His knuckles pressed into my carotid artery inch by inch. That's right, I killed Lan. I tampered with her car, and you're about to die at my hands too. His voice was hoarse, filled with endless coldness and madness. If only there hadn't been these blood-red bullet comments today, I could have deceived you for a few more years. I was almost successful. You were already completely devoted to me. But you had to discover the truth. To be honest with you, the bullet comments you saw before were fabricated by me. But so what? After you're dead, I can bind someone else, and I can make a comeback. In his arrogant and hysterical narration, my breathing became weaker and weaker. Just as I was about to fall into darkness, bang, the door was suddenly smashed open from the outside, and Lan rushed in with the police. When Zhou Lin saw Lan, his eyes widened in shock. You're not dead. How can you still be alive? The police officers swarmed up, controlled him, and pinned him to the ground. I was finally released and took big gulps of fresh air. Didn't you expect it? I weakly curled the corner of my mouth. Actually, there are no blood-red bullet comments at all. All of this was just to make you admit all your criminal facts yourself. I pointed with my trembling finger at the pinhole camera in the corner. That was something I secretly set up in Zhou Lin's rental house a week ago. Stop struggling. Everything you said and did just now has been recorded by the pinhole camera. Hearing this, Zhou Lin shuddered all over and slumped down like a snake whose spine had been removed. His eyes were unfocused, and his lips moved but no sound came out. The face that always wore a gentle mask now only showed the despair of a cornered man. 12, that's right. And Lan wasn't dead at all. All of this was a carefully arranged play for Zhou Lin by us. Let's go back in time to a week ago. Under the pretext of meeting a friend, I took Zhou Lin and met Lan in the restaurant. This meeting was actually a gamble between Lan and me. It was to let her see with her own eyes. When Zhou Lin had to choose between me and her, how much was that heart beautified by the bullet comments really worth? As expected, Zhou Lin chose me on the spot, although Lan's family background was not bad. Compared with the Wen family, it was still far inferior. However, he was afraid that Lan's entanglement would make all his previous efforts go to waste, so he had to appease her first. I asked Lan what exactly Zhou Lin had explained to her in private that day, and Lan told me. He just said that he had his own difficulties, and he couldn't say what those difficulties were specifically. He just asked me to trust him and that he would take responsibility for me. Do you believe him? I asked. And Lan was silent for a moment. If you hadn't come to me, I think I would have believed him. When I could see the bullet comments before, Zhou Lin told me several times that he had his difficulties but never explained the reasons. Whenever I had doubts, the bullet comments would explain it to me. And in the end, the content of the bullet comments was verified by the facts, so I felt more sorry for him and trusted him even more. She paused and then said, but if the bullet comments were really his self-directed and self-acted scheme, then I have no reason to trust him anymore. I agreed with her. No matter how eloquently Zhou Lin spoke, one thing was certain, that was when he had to choose between the two, he gave up on Lan. This was enough to prove that he wasn't as affectionate as she had imagined. Things have come to this, and I admit defeat. And Lan let out a deep sigh, full of self-mockery, but I shook my head and corrected her. And Lan, there's no winning or losing between us. Is it really considered a win to get this man? Then this kind of win is really disappointing. And Lan suddenly fell silent and lowered her head, remaining silent for a long, long time. When she raised her head again, those sad eyes had become extremely calm and determined. You're right. What kind of victory is it to not be abandoned? Making him pay the price is what matters. She looked at me with a determined gaze, like a sharp blade unsheathed. What should we do next? I told Lan that there was a high possibility that Zhou Lin would choose to kill her to silence her and eliminate the root of the trouble. She needed to install pinhole cameras within the scope of her daily activities. especially paying attention to the car's components and the brake system. At the same time, she also needed to play her role well to avoid arousing Zhou Lin's suspicion. Facts have also proved that our prediction was completely correct. When Zhou Lin tampered with Enlan's car, we received the alarm immediately. Although he cleverly avoided the driving recorder, the 360-degree pinhole cameras around clearly captured his criminal behavior. After that, Zhou Lin invited Enlan to go up the mountain, euphemistically saying that he could answer all her previous doubts and prepare a surprise for her. In fact, in order to completely clear himself of suspicion, he didn't go up the mountain at all that day. He just estimated that Enlan was almost there and then called her, lying that he had something urgent to deal with and asked Enlan to turn back. In her previous life, Enlan had an accident on the way down the slope, but in this life, Enlan didn't go up the mountain at all. She just destroyed her car, faked the scene of the car accident, and then used false news to mislead the public's attention. Zhou Lin thought he had everything taken care of and solved his biggest worry, but he didn't know that all his actions were within our prediction. In order to make his criminal facts conclusive, I fabricated the existence of the blood-red bullet comments and revealed his sins from the previous life little by little, forcing Zhou Lin to completely break down and finally admit the criminal facts. Now, the video of Zhou Lin admitting the criminal facts himself, the surveillance video of him tampering with the car, the call recording of him inviting Enlan to go up the mountain, many irrefutable evidences are all laid out on the table. His criminal facts are conclusive, and no matter how much he tries to quibble, it can't be shaken. In the end, Zhou Lin was sentenced to 20 years in prison by the court for multiple crimes, including 2 attempted intentional homicides and the destruction of transportation vehicles. 13. On the day Zhou Lin was sentenced, I personally went to the court to witness this moment. The moment his cloudy eyes saw me, they suddenly lit up, and his chapped lips opened and closed silently. According to the court's regulations, he couldn't talk to me, so he started desperately fabricating bullet comments, talking about how good he had been to me before and how deeply he had loved me. Luchi, do you remember the cake I learned to make for you, the night you said you were cold? The coat I took off still retained your body temperature. Forgive my momentary confusion, I was just too afraid of losing you. Can you write me a letter of understanding? I will definitely work like a slave for you when I get out. There was a sickly expectation in his eyes, as if he was certain that since he hadn't succeeded yet in this life, I should be grateful to him. But I had actually experienced the destruction of my family and my own violent death in the previous life. How could I possibly forgive him? Seeing that I remained expressionless all the time, those bullet comments gradually became ferocious. Bitch, haven't I given you enough? If it weren't for me, could you have experienced the feeling of being loved? Just you wait, I still have the bullet comment system. When I conquer someone more powerful than you, I'll kill you. It was so noisy. Fortunately, the judge finally pronounced the sentence. The defendant, Zhou Lin, is convicted of the crime of intentional homicide and the crime of destroying transportation vehicles. After combining the punishments for multiple crimes, he is sentenced to 20 years in prison. The moment the judge struck the gavel, those twisted words in the air dissipated like smoke. All those curses and pleas were gone, until the familiar bullet comments floated past my eyes, and the host's mission failed. And the system binding is released. The host loses the permission to manipulate the bullet comments, and the target person will no longer be able to see the bullet comments. I glanced at Enlan beside me and happened to meet her gaze. I knew that she had heard it too. From now on, Zhou Lin can no longer use the bullet comments to deceive and manipulate anyone. We have finally completely walked out of the huge scam woven by the bullet comments. Walking out of the gate of the court, there was a long-lost, clean and clear world in front of us. There were no floating words, and there was no preset fate. It turned out that real life should be this refreshing. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. The sound of Enlan's footsteps came from my side, brisk and firm. The gate of the court slowly closed behind us, and neither of us looked back.